Chapter 90. Saber-toothed tiger? Let's go and complete your mission first, Yi Xian said. When he first entered the Shattering Cloud sect, he had already killed a saber-toothed tiger, but it was a battle. Now, if he encountered a saber-toothed tiger again, he would be able to kill it with one punch. Okay. Guan Yulan nodded slightly. The saber-toothed tiger was an 8th rank monster, so they still had to go deeper into the mountains. A day later, they arrived at the 13th mountain range. Along the way, Yi Xian encountered some monsters that he had never seen before. Of course, these monsters were all killed by Yi Xian from a distance and the corpses were devoured. Although Guan Yulan was right beside him, Yi Xian trusted her, so he gave her an excuse, which was the interspatial ring. Guan Yulan was also very surprised, because an interspatial ring was priceless, and no one in the entire Shattering Cloud sect had one. However, she had seen it once, and that was at her foster father's place. The corpses of monsters could be sold for money, so Guan Yulan didn't care. Roar. As soon as Yi Xian and Guan Yulan entered the 13th mountain range, they heard a roar. According to his memory, Yi Xian immediately recalled that this was the roar of a saber-toothed tiger. Our luck is not bad. Let's go and complete the mission first. Following the roar, Yi Xian quickly found a saber-toothed tiger, but this saber-toothed tiger was currently fighting with another monster. Is this the 8th rank Howling Moon Silver Wolf? Yi Xian recognized this monster. This was a giant wolf with silver fur, and like the saber-toothed tiger, it was also an 8th rank monster. However, this Howling Moon Silver Wolf was stronger than the saber-toothed tiger when it reached adulthood. Yi Xian and Guan Yulan stood in the distance as they quietly watched the two demonic beasts fight to the death over a corpse. It's good to be strong, to be able to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, while those without strength have to run away. Yi Xian sighed in his heart. The two demonic beasts also noticed Yi Xian, but when they saw that Yi Xian had no intention of stepping forward, they continued to fight. However, what surprised Yi Xian was that this Howling Moon Silver Wolf was not as strong as he had imagined. Although it had successfully clawed the saber-toothed tiger to death, it had also suffered quite a few injuries. Roar. The Howling Moon Silver Wolf roared at Yi Xian and Yi Xian. Then, it dragged the corpse of the unknown demonic beast away. For Yi Xian, besides selling demonic beasts, he could also devour them. Therefore, Yi Xian would not let go of this opportunity. Just as he was about to draw his bow and kill this Howling Moon Silver Wolf, Guan Yulan suddenly reached out and placed her hand on his arm, indicating that he should not attack. What's wrong? Yi Xian asked in surprise. This Howling Moon Silver Wolf seems to be pregnant, Guan Yulan said after a pause. What? Yi Xian was stunned. Pregnant? No wonder it's so weak. So it's pregnant. However, with its injuries, I'm afraid it won't live for long. Yi Xian carefully sized up the Howling Moon Silver Wolf. This Howling Moon Silver Wolf really did leave behind footprints, but they were bloody footprints. Then you mean to say that we should let it go? Yi Xian suddenly turned his head and asked. This was not the first time they had encountered a pregnant demonic beast. This was the second time. The first time was when they encountered the Flood Dragon in the Blackwater Mountain Range. However, that time, they had no choice but to attack its abdomen in order to kill it. Let's wait and see. Even if we don't attack, whether it can give birth to wolf pups is still a problem. Guan Yulan felt a little sorry. At that time, she was also bewitched by Lu Buping. That was why she accepted the invitation to kill the Flood Dragon. She even cruelly attacked the Flood Dragon's egg. After returning, she also felt guilty for a long time. This time, she did not want to see this kind of situation again. Alright, then let's go get the saber-toothed tiger's fangs first. Yi Xian nodded slightly. Having compassion was a good thing. Although there would be some accidents sometimes, it was better than being cold-blooded and killing without batting an eyelid. They walked to the saber-toothed tiger's side. However, this saber-toothed tiger was not completely dead yet, so Yi Xian gave it another stab. Then, Yi Xian punched one by one, breaking the two fangs. Then, he swallowed the saber-toothed tiger's corpse. Do you want to go take a look? Yi Xian suddenly turned his head and asked. Hearing this, Guan Yulan hesitated again, then nodded. They followed the bloody footprints and finally found a small cave. However, they did not enter because there was a painful wail coming from the cave. They did not know whether it was good luck or not, but after the Howling Moon's silver wolf returned to its den, it actually began to give birth. Severely injured, it howled for a full 5 minutes before it finally stopped. Yi Xian and Guan Yulan looked at each other, then walked in together. This cave was not big. After 2 turns, Yi Xian and Guan Yulan saw the Howling Moon's silver wolf. However, this Howling Moon's silver wolf was lying on its side on the ground. There was no sign of life at all. Beside it were 2 little things. After seeing this, Yi Xian frowned slightly and said, as expected, it died halfway through giving birth. As he spoke, he walked over. When he got closer, he saw that there were already 2 wolf pups on the ground. As for the 3rd wolf pup, it was still in the Howling Moon's silver wolf's stomach. It seemed that this 3rd wolf pup was not even halfway through giving birth before the mother wolf died. Yi Xian shook his head helplessly. In this world, killing was everywhere. Corpses of humans and monsters could be seen everywhere. In his previous life's biology class, Yi Xian had also learned about natural selection, so he did not feel much about it. This cave was quite dark. Yi Xian began to look around, but did not find anything valuable. But when he turned around, he was shocked. He saw that Guan Yulan had wrapped a cloth around a wolf pup and was holding it in her arms as if she was holding a baby. Yulan, Yi Xian was shocked. What the hell was Guan Yulan doing? Why was she holding the corpse of a wolf pup? No. Suddenly, Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He felt that the wolf pup was still breathing. Is it still alive? Yi Xian muttered and moved closer. This newborn wolf pup had not even opened its eyes. Although it was breathing, it was very weak. It looked like it could die at any time. Guan Yulan hugged it and frowned. No one knew what she was thinking about. However, Yi Xian could see a trace of reluctance in her eyes. This wolf pup is very weak. I don't think it will live for long. However, I have some pills that monsters can take. Maybe it can save its life. Yi Xian looked at Guan Yulan and slowly said. Hearing this, Guan Yulan suddenly looked up at Yi Xian. However, before she could speak, Yi Xian continued, monsters are very difficult to tame. Even if you raise it from a young age, it may not recognize you as its master. In his previous life, Yi Xian had also watched some movies about animals, such as Young Fart's Fantasy Journey. Chapter 91. I'm fine. Guan Yulan shook her head slightly. All right. Yi Xian said. Then, he exchanged something from the devouring system and took it out. In fact, it wasn't much. It was just a pack of medicinal powder. It was specially used to nurture demonic beasts. It could strengthen the demonic beast's physique and increase its level at the same time. Yi Xian had spent a lot of money for Guan Yulan. This pack of medicinal powder cost him a total of 10 devouring points. Let's feed it this first. Yi Xian took out a bowl of clear water and mixed the medicinal powder into it. He carefully fed the wolf cub with a small spoon. Lucky little guy, you finished the 10 points worth of devouring points. From now on, your master will be called Guan Yulan. If you dare to betray her, I will skin you alive. Yi Xian thought in his heart. The name of this pack of medicinal powder was also strange. It was called the Demonic Beast Growth Plan. Furthermore, this was only the first phase. There would be a second phase, a third phase, and so on. However, he had to wait until this wolf cub matured into a spiritual beast. Originally, when the Howling Moon's silver wolf matured, it would at most be an 8th-ranked demonic beast. However, after consuming this powder, it could probably become a spiritual beast. There were many things in the devouring system that could help a demonic beast grow into an adult in a short period of time. However, these things were too expensive. Yi Xian couldn't bear to part with them. Most importantly, he couldn't afford them. Just like that, Guan Yulan gained a new demonic beast pet. It was a wolf cub that hadn't even opened its eyes yet. After it drank the medicinal powder, it fell asleep. However, its aura was obviously stronger and it wasn't as weak as before. Give it a name. Guan Yulan looked at the sleeping wolf cub in her arms and said to Yi Xian. Name? Yi Xian was stunned when he heard this. He was the best at naming things. Egg fried rice, pork chop rice, dumplings, tang yuan, yuan shao. When Yi Xian read out the names one by one, Guan Yulan couldn't help but laugh. Why do you only know how to eat? Guan Yulan rolled her eyes helplessly. Don't you think it's easy to remember? Yi Xian asked. Many people used food to name their food. For example, some web novelists named their food, Heavenly Silkworm Potato, 3 spoons of sugar, I eat tomatoes, etc. However, at this moment, a name suddenly flashed through his mind. Let's call it Gentle Whisper then, Yi Xian blurted out. He recalled a piece of equipment from a game in his previous life. Qingyu? Guan Yulan read it once and found that it was not bad because her name also had the word yu in it. Okay, let's use this. Guan Yulan nodded. But in the next second, Yi Xian thought of another problem. Was this wolf cub male or female? It would be fine if it was female, but if it was male? A few veins popped out on Yi Xian's forehead. Was this considered inviting a wolf into the house? This time, Yi Xian didn't eat the body of the Howling Moon silver wolf and the dead wolf cub. Instead, he dug a hole outside the cave and buried it. After that, the two sat at the entrance of the cave. Guan Yulan held Gentle Whisper in her arms and gently stroked it with her slender fingers. Suddenly, Qingyu, who was in Guan Yulan's arms, moved. She opened her mouth and let out an extremely delicate voice that almost melted Guan Yulan's heart. Immediately after, Gentle Whisper opened its eyes and saw Guan Yulan. Damn, it opened its eyes not long after it was born. Yi Xian was shocked. Although he didn't know what was going on with wolves, it would take at least a week for a puppy to open its eyes. It seemed that the monster beast growth plan had some hidden attributes. He just didn't know how many years it would take for the wolf cub to be considered an adult. Yi Xian glanced at Guan Yulan and saw that her eyes were full of love. It seemed that she really liked this wolf cub. Gotcha. At this moment, Yi Xian's ears twitched. He heard a slight movement. It was the sound of leaves being stepped on. Was it a human or a monster beast? However, Yi Xian didn't care much. After all, this was only the 13th mountain range. At most, there would be 8th rank monsters. With his current strength, he had no problem dealing with 9th rank monsters, let alone 8th rank monsters. The sound was getting closer and closer. Yi Xian also held his breath. He heard that it was a human and not a monster. Besides the sound of footsteps, there was also a conversation. Damn, it was so hard to find a crystal, but we lost it. How unlucky. Big brother, that low-grade crystal should be fake. Don't worry about it. What are you talking about? If it was a substandard crystal, would we have to chase it like this? But we lost it. 2 people holding weapons walked side by side towards Yi Xian. However, they didn't notice Yi Xian. Instead, they were discussing something. When Yi Xian heard this, his heart sank. On his way here, he heard a lot of news about crystals. He didn't know what was going on in the 18 Lianyan mountain range. There were many wolves with pendants around their necks, attracting a large number of cultivators. Moreover, some people actually obtained crystals. Of course, there were also fake crystals. A substandard crystal was worth 1 million taels of silver, but if one obtained a lower grade crystal, it would be worth 100 million taels of silver. This time, Yi Xian also had the same idea. However, his luck wasn't good. He didn't encounter any wolves with pendants around their necks. Big brother, there's someone. At this moment, the slightly shorter man noticed Yi Xian, who wasn't far away. The taller man glanced at him and snorted, "He's probably here to look for crystals." "Humph, bringing a child to the 13th mountain range. He really doesn't know what's good for him." The shorter man looked deeply at Guan Yulan and smiled. He whispered, "Big brother, this girl is pretty." Isn't that a wolf cub?" "Wolf cub?" The taller man's eyes narrowed. He thought that Guan Yulan was carrying a baby, but he didn't expect it to be a wolf cub. "Looks like it's a Howling Moon silver wolf's cub. Moreover, it was just born." The shorter man suddenly turned to look at the taller man with a greedy expression. "A Howling Moon silver wolf's corpse is worth at most a few 100,000 silver. However, a newborn can be sold for 2 to 3 million. The taller man's eyes flashed. It was obvious that he wanted to kill them. However, before they could speak, Yi Xian, who was more than 10 meters away, asked, "You too, are you planning to kill them and steal their treasures?" Killing people to steal treasures was a common occurrence in the wild. Therefore, it was important to not reveal one's wealth in the wild. However, Yi Xian wasn't afraid. Chapter 92. "Big brother, there's still that woman," the short man reminded softly. "Oh right, leave your wife with us for a while." The tall man's eyes were mixed with 2 different colors. When she heard the word wife, Guan Yulan's face turned red. However, when she heard the second half of the sentence, her killing intent surged. Her spiritual energy began to surge and she was ready to attack at any time. "Oh, you're in the early 8th level of the martial path. Don't tell me you're a disciple of some family or sect." The tall man was slightly surprised. He smiled and said, "But this little bit of strength is useless in front of us." The two of them were both in the middle 8th level of the martial path. How could they be afraid of a woman like Guan Yulan? "Why don't you two take a look at mine?" Yi Xian smiled faintly and no longer restrained his aura. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the 2 men felt an invisible pressure. "So strong, he's definitely in the 9th level of the martial path. I didn't expect this kid to be in the 9th level of the martial path." The tall man was also shocked. "Big brother, he must have been groomed by some family. He must have some good stuff on him." The short man's body trembled, but he still revealed a greedy expression. A disciple of a big family would definitely have a lot of good stuff on him. Maybe he could get some martial arts copies. They lived a life on the edge of the blade. Moreover, they were in the middle of nowhere. Naturally, they weren't afraid of the power behind Yi Xian. "Not bad, it seems like this trip was not in vain." The tall man nodded. In his opinion, Yi Xian was just an empty shell. After seeing the 2 men's expressions, Yi Xian said helplessly, "It seems that the 2 of you are prepared to die." "If that's the case," before he finished speaking, the tall man scolded, "How arrogant, let me," similarly, before he could finish his words, he was interrupted. "Kacha!" Suddenly, an inexplicable crisp sound rang out. The short man glanced over and found that Yi Xian had already arrived beside them. All they saw was Yi Xian's fist landing on the tall man's throat. As for the tall man, he was vomiting blood. His eyes were protruding as though they were about to pop out of their sockets. The short man had a bad premonition in his heart. Then, he saw his big brother fall backward. Plop! The tall man fell to the ground, his eyes wide open. He was dead. Not good. The short man couldn't care less about his grief. He hurriedly turned around, but in the next moment, his body trembled violently. Yi Xian was already a step ahead of him, arriving in front of him. Kacha! Another crisp sound rang out, and the short man also fell to the ground, instantly dead. Yi Xian would not show mercy to his enemies. Since they dared to set their sights on them, then they deserved to die. "Let me see what good stuff you have." Yi Xian searched the 2 corpses. These 2 were martial artists in the 8th stage of the martial path, so they must have some good stuff. Sure enough, as Yi Xian expected, he actually found a small cloth bag on the tall man's body. Inside it was a crystal that was quietly lying inside. This was the first time Yi Xian saw crystals. There were a total of 3 round crystals. Yulan, what are these 3 crystals? Yi Xian suddenly turned around and asked. This was the first time he saw crystals. Substandard crystals are round, lower crystals are rhombic, and middle crystals are triangular. Guan Yulan explained. So that's how it is. This means that these 3 crystals are substandard crystals. In total, they are worth 3 million taels of silver. Let me see if these crystals can be directly consumed. Yi Xian's heart moved and the 3 crystals in his hand instantly disappeared. Crystals could be directly consumed. It can actually be consumed. In that case, I won't have to go shopping in the future. Yi Xian was overjoyed. He had tried to consume silver and gold before, but there was no effect at all. Killing people to steal treasures was just a small interlude. However, it also made Yi Xian realize that this little wolf cub was a hot potato. Yulan, I'm going to go deeper. Why don't you go back to the Shattering Cloud sect first? Yi Xian suddenly turned around and asked. The last few mountains of the 18 mountain ranges of the Lian Yun had 9th stage and even 10th stage demonic beasts. Guan Yulan was only in the 8th stage of the martial path, so Yi Xian couldn't let her take the risk. Then I'll wait for you outside. Guan Yulan also understood that she wasn't strong enough. If she followed Yi Xian, she would only be a burden to Yi Xian, so she didn't insist. Okay. Yi Xian nodded, but he still told Guan Yulan to change into the Shattering Cloud sect's clothes. Then, he escorted Guan Yulan to a safe mountain range and began to go deeper. From the 15th mountain range onwards, 9th stage demonic beasts would appear. Yi Xian's target was the flame python, which was located in a corner of the 16th mountain range. After sending Guan Yulan off, Yi Xian's footsteps were very fast. In less than half a day, he arrived at the 16th mountain range's scorching ground. The temperature here is so high. It's said that there are many flame pythons here, so it's better to be careful. Yi Xian stepped on the scorching ground. Even with his boots, he could feel the heat. Fortunately, his skin was thick, so it didn't affect him much. Yi Xian had never seen the demonic beasts in the scorching ground, such as the flame python and the flame pig. Their blood essence was useful to Yi Xian. Yi Xian searched for a long time in the scorching ground and finally found a red python. Although this python wasn't on fire, it burned the ground wherever it passed. This was the 9th stage demonic beast, the flame python. It's so hot, let's end this quickly. Yi Xian muttered in his heart. In an instant, he turned into an afterimage and rushed toward the flame python. 9th stage martial art, dark green palm. A strong and powerful palm slapped the flame python's fiery red scales, and the flame python's body was pushed back in an instant. The flame python was suddenly attacked. It immediately opened its bloody mouth and bit toward Yi Xian. Get lost. Unexpectedly, Yi Xian uppercut and sent its head flying. Hit the snake where it hurts. Yi Xian silently calculated in his heart. Then, he bombarded the flame python 7 inches. The snake's 7 inches was its heart. Yi Xian used a soft palm technique, so the hard snake scales didn't have much of a protective effect. In less than 5 seconds, the flame python died tragically on the spot. However, this hard snake skin took a lot of effort from Yi Xian. After more than 10 minutes, Yi Xian finally removed the flame python's gallbladder. This red gallbladder was the size of a fist. It was like a jelly in Yi Xian's hand. That's strange, the gallbladder is also hot. Chapter 93. Not bad. 500,000 each. If I kill 10, I'll get 5 million. If I kill 100, I'll get 50 million. If I kill 1,000, I'll get 500 million. Thinking of this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. Indeed, it was more reliable to kill monsters to level up. However, the flame python was a rank 9 monster, which was not common. Otherwise, Yi Xian would have reached the 10th stage of the martial path in the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. The environment here was rather harsh, even harsher than in the desert. Therefore, after Yi Xian finished his mission, he directly left this scorching hot land. Rank 9 monsters were rare, so Yi Xian left the 15th mountain range and returned to the territory of the rank 8 monsters. At this time, his blood essence had broken through the 200 mark. He was still 800 points away from the 1,000 beasts bloodline. However, just as Yi Xian returned to the 12th mountain range, a group of black figures suddenly swept across the sky. Hey, it's a group of bird-type monsters. Yi Xian found it strange because there were 4 or 5 different species of bird-type monsters in the group. How could different species of monsters be mixed together? Forget it, I'll shoot all of you down. Yi Xian did not think too much. He took out the cloud-splitting bow and shot. Go, Chaotic Star Arrow Level 3. Buzz. With a muffled sound, an arrow pierced through the air. Suddenly, the spiritual arrow split into 9 and shot into the group of birds. Immediately, 4 or 5 bird-type monsters were hit and fell from the sky. At this time, the leading eagle turned its head and let out a fierce cry. Then, it led the entire group of birds toward Yi Xian. A total of more than 30 monsters swooped down toward Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian did not panic. He drew his bow and continued to attack. The chaotic star arrow had been upgraded to the 3rd level. In other words, Yi Xian could shoot 9 arrows at once. In 1 second, Yi Xian could shoot 2 or 3 times. In other words, Yi Xian could shoot more than 20 arrows in 1 second. Before this flock of bird-type demonic beasts swooped down, more than half of them were already dead. Only a few of the more powerful ones were unharmed. At this time, Yi Xian was finally moved because he discovered that 3 of the remaining 6 demonic beasts were 9th-ranked demonic beasts. So what if there are 3 9th-ranked beasts? Even if there are 10 of them, I will still shoot them all down. Yi Xian did not dodge. He just stood where he was and kept attacking. Suddenly, the leading condor swooped down and swiped its sharp claws at Yi Xian's head. Get lost. Facing this claw, Yi Xian clenched his right fist and punched out. Boom! The fist passed through the claws and landed on the eagle's body, knocking it over. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Xian quickly drew his bow and fired a supernova arrow. The supernova arrow, condensed from dense spiritual energy, exploded in front of the eagle. The powerful impact directly blew the eagle's mouth askew. The eagle let out a sharp cry in pain. However, at this time, 9 cold lights flashed and entered its body. The bird-type demonic beast's defense was not strong. The supernova arrow easily broke through their defense. One of the arrows even pierced through the eagle's heart. Plop! The eagle died tragically in an instant and then smashed into the ground. When the other 5 demonic beasts saw this, they screeched and pounced at Yi Xian. However, they were unable to pose any threat to Yi Xian. After more than 10 seconds, they were all turned into 5 corpses. A flock of nearly 40 demonic beasts was easily slaughtered by Yi Xian alone. Among them, there were even 3 9th-ranked demonic beasts. If there was someone else present, they would be so shocked that they would be speechless. So many corpses on the ground. Was it really done by one person? However, other than Yi Xian, there really was someone else here. Clap. 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 Just as Yi Xian was about to devour all the demonic beasts' corpses, a series of muffled sounds came from the side. Someone was clapping. Hearing this, Yi Xian's relaxed nerves tensed up again. He did not realize that there was someone around. Little brother, you're very strong. A man's voice drifted from not far away. Yi Xian turned his head and saw a middle-aged man in white slowly walking towards him. Oh no, the interspatial ring has been exposed again. Yi Xian's expression froze. Just now, he had suddenly summoned the cloud-splitting bow. If this person had been here for a long time, then he must have seen it. The middle-aged man did not continue to approach and finally stopped 30 meters away from Yi Xian. He looked at the 40 corpses on the ground and smiled. Little brother, you're so young, yet you have such strength. May I ask where you're from? Sir, when you're inquiring about other people's background, shouldn't you first report your own name? Yi Xian asked. I forgot. Let me introduce myself. I'm Ouyang Ming, the patrol officer of the Profound Sun Empire's South Forest County. The middle-aged man said with a smile. Profound Sun Empire, South Forest County, patrol officer. These 3 words were unfamiliar to Yi Xian. He rarely heard them. However, this did not mean that Yi Xian did not know them. At this moment, he was in the Profound Sun Empire's South Forest County. However, what shocked Yi Xian was the 3 words, patrol officer. The middle-aged man in front of him was actually an Empire's patrol officer. One must know that this position was on the same level as the county king. It was an Empire's position that was on par with the county king of the South Forest County. Damn, I met an official. This is too unreal. How can I meet someone who is on the same level as the county king in such a remote place? Yi Xian felt that it was unbelievable. Of course, he also had some doubts in his heart. This one is Yi Xian, an instructor of the Shattered Cloud sect. Yi Xian cupped his fist and said, "Oh." After hearing this, Ouyang Ming was also surprised. Naturally, he had heard of the Shattered Cloud sect, but he had never heard of such a young instructor. However, he had seen Yi Xian's strength with his own eyes. There was no doubt about it. It seems that I am ignorant and inexperienced. Ouyang Ming laughed at himself, but there was a strange look in his eyes. Yi Xian looked at the person and asked, "May I ask if there is anything else, Sir Patrol Officer?" From the beginning, he had been on guard. Although the other party was an important official of the Empire, this was the wilderness. It was obvious that he would kill and steal. Moreover, an interspatial ring was priceless. Its value was high enough to make people kill each other. Most importantly, he did not know the strength of this patrol officer. However, he felt that the other party was very strong, very strong. Little brother, there is no need to be nervous. This one has no ill intentions. Just now, I saw that little brother's archery is good and your realm is not low. This one just so happens to have encountered some problems, so I would like to ask little brother for help. Ouyang Ming said. Help? What a joke. Chapter 94. Run. Yi Xian did not reply and turned around to leave. What he used was the Shattering Cloud Sect's Level 10 martial art, the floating body technique. Yi Xian spent more than 100 devouring points to learn the floating body technique. After learning it, he ran as if he was floating. He only used the tip of his foot to touch the ground and his speed was very fast. This time, Yi Xian was determined to escape because he knew that if Ouyang Ming had any ill intentions towards him, he would be dead for sure. Therefore, it was better to run first. However, just as he turned around and ran a few steps, a shadow appeared in front of him. It was Ouyang Ming. Cyan Serene Palm. Yi Xian was shocked and hurriedly struck out with his palm. He estimated that no one in the same rank could withstand his full-strength palm. However, Ouyang Ming, who was in front of him, didn't block or dodge. Yi Xian's palm directly smashed onto his shoulder. Bang! Yi Xian's spiritual power was instantly dispersed and disappeared. How is this possible? Yi Xian could not believe it. Why did his spiritual power suddenly disperse when it came into contact with Ouyang Ming's body? In the next moment, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. True spirit defense. What Ouyang Ming used was not spiritual power, but his true spirit. This Ouyang Ming was actually a true spirit realm powerhouse. Little brother, do you know what rank I am now? Don't worry, I have no ill intentions towards you. If I really wanted to kill you, you would have died long ago. Ouyang Ming smiled. At this moment, Yi Xian's heart turned cold. He did not expect to meet a true spirit realm powerhouse in the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. However, Yangming's words calmed him down. Indeed, if Yangming wanted to kill him and steal his treasure, he would have died long ago. He would not have stood there and taken his palm. Sir Yangming, I have offended you. Please forgive me. Yi Xian quickly cupped his hands. It's fine. I came to the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan because I'm investigating something. I noticed that you have great archery skills, so I'd like to ask for your help. Don't worry, I'll give you 3 low-grade crystals once it's done. Yangming smiled again. You really need my help? Yi Xian wondered in his heart. But in the next moment, he was King stunned. Low-grade crystals. It was actually a low-grade crystal. A single substandard crystal was worth 1 million taels of silver, and a single low-grade crystal was worth 100 times more than a substandard crystal, which was 100 million taels of silver. 3 pills meant 300 million. What kind of trouble did this imperial inspector encounter that he would ask for 300 million? Wasn't he too rich? I'm afraid this will be very dangerous, right? Yi Xian swallowed his saliva and asked. The higher the price, the more dangerous the mission. After all, Yangming was in the true spirit realm. If even he could not handle it, it would definitely be very troublesome. There will be danger, but you'll be fine with me around. I just need a helper, Yangming said. This, Yi Xian was still a little hesitant. He was only here to complete a mission, but the 3 low-grade crystals were very tempting. They could save him a lot of time. One had to know that his mission of killing the flame python was only worth 1,500 points. The reward for this mission was 20 times more than the reward for killing the flame python. Sir Yang, can you be more specific? Yi Xian was still a little worried. Sure, you can clean up these corpses first. I'll tell you slowly. Yangming glanced at the corpses. Yi Xian's heart trembled. Sure enough, Yangming knew that he had an interspatial ring. Since that was the case, Yi Xian did not hide it anymore. His strength was not bad, but in front of a true spirit realm powerhouse who had transcended martial arts, it was not worth mentioning. Even if Yangming stood here and let him beat him up for a day, he would not be able to hurt him at all. After all, the true spirit defense could not be broken by spiritual power. Yi Xian swallowed all the corpses on the ground, then left with Yangming. However, Yangming was also shocked. He realized that the space inside Yi Xian's interspatial ring was so big that it could store more than 40 demonic beasts. He guessed that Yi Xian must have gotten it by chance. The value of these 40 demonic beasts was about 3 million taels of silver. Yi Xian had also improved by a lot. Following that, he left with Yangming and stopped at a quiet place. Yi Xian, have you heard that some demonic wolves with crystals hanging around their necks are wandering around the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan recently? After sitting down, Yangming asked. Yes. Yi Xian nodded. This was a matter that had happened a long time ago. When he first met Xueqingqing, she seemed to be chasing a demonic wolf. Let me tell you, this was actually done by someone. He deliberately hung the crystals around the demonic wolf's necks to attract a large number of martial artists to the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. Yangming explained. Attract a large number of martial artists? Why? Yi Xian was puzzled. Because he needed a large number of human corpses. During this period of time, a large number of demonic beasts would go out every night to hunt humans. Then, they would drag the corpses to a canyon deep in the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. I found that canyon by chance. When I found it, there were already more than 10,000 human corpses. Yangming frowned. After hearing this, Yi Xian could not help but shudder. More than 10,000 human corpses? Could it be that someone is cultivating a demonic technique? Yi Xian blurted out. Maybe, but I haven't investigated it clearly. If I want to investigate, I have to climb to the bottom of the canyon. However, there will be a large number of bird-type demonic beasts hovering above the canyon, so I need someone to help me clear the demonic beasts in the sky. Your archery is excellent, maybe you can help me safely descend to the canyon. Oh Yangming continued. He was very lucky to have met Yi Xian on the way. Otherwise, he would have to go back to the city to find a martial artist who was proficient in archery. I see. Now, Yi Xian understood the ins and outs of the matter. Someone used a large number of fake crystals to attract martial artists to the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, then collected human corpses to cultivate a demonic technique. But, why can this person control demonic beasts? Yi Xian suddenly thought of this question. Actually, I'm not very sure. It might be related to a force from hundreds of years ago. That force was called the Beast God Sect. They could control demonic beasts, and at their peak, they could even contend against a dynasty. Oh Yangming answered. What? A force that could contend against a dynasty? Yi Xian exclaimed. He was no longer a rookie who had just entered the other world. During this time, he had read a lot of books. At this time, he was in a country called the Profound Sun Empire. This empire was divided into 16 counties, and the one under his feet was called the South Forest County. Empires were also divided into levels. The Profound Sun Empire was a low-level empire, and above it were middle-level and high-level empires. Chapter 95. There were hundreds of empires in this area, but there were only 4 dynasties. Even if 10 high-rank empires worked together, they might not be a match for a dynasty. However, hundreds of years ago, there was actually a force that could contend with a dynasty. How powerful was it? Sir Ouyang, if the Beast God Sect was so powerful, why was it destroyed? Yi Xian asked curiously. The Beast God Sect developed quickly. After it rose, it reached the level of a high-rank empire in just a few decades. 100 years later, it could contend with a dynasty. The 4 dynasties of the eastern region were afraid that it would continue to grow, so they joined forces to destroy it. However, they didn't completely destroy it. I didn't expect that there would be remnants of the Beast God Sect in the Profound Sun Empire. Yi Xian was silent for a few seconds to digest the information. After a long while, he continued, so you're saying that after the Beast God religion was annihilated, some of the survivors fled to the Profound Sun Empire and hid? Yes, so this matter must be investigated thoroughly. If it's really the remnants of the Beast God Sect, then they must be eliminated. Otherwise, the Profound Sun Empire will be attacked by a group of demonic beasts. When that time comes, the entire empire will be plunged into misery and suffering. Oh Yangming nodded. Yi Xian also understood the seriousness of this matter, but he was still a little hesitant. Sir Ouyang, what are the levels of those demonic beasts? Could there be 10th rank demonic beasts? Yi Xian asked timidly. Although he could deal with 9th rank demonic beasts now, they were equivalent to a martial artist in the 10th rank of the martial path. If there was one, he might be able to deal with 1 or 2. If there were 2 or a group of demonic beasts, then he would be finished. Don't worry, this canyon is in the 16th mountain range, there won't be any 10th rank demonic beasts. Oh Yangming replied. That's good. Yi Xian heaved a sigh of relief. If it was only a class 9 demonic beast, then he wouldn't be able to beat it. He thought for a while, then finally nodded and agreed, okay, I'm willing to help. He only helped Oh Yangming attack the 9th rank demonic beasts in the sky, but he could get 300 million taels of silver. This deal was definitely worth it. However, wasn't this a little too much? Well, thank you, little brother. I promised before that as long as you help me, I will take out 3 low-grade crystal stones as a reward. As Oh Yangming spoke, a golden bow suddenly appeared in his hand. He handed it to Yi Xian and said, this golden eagle bow is a low-grade spirit tool. Use it first and return it to me after you're done. Perhaps you can even take it as a reward. Hiss. Before he could finish speaking, Yi Xian fiercely sucked in a breath of air. What the F***ck, the patrol inspector was indeed different. His first move was a spiritual weapon. However, weapons like bows were rarely used, so spirit weapons were not very expensive, but their value was definitely more than 300 million. Therefore, Yi Xian had already made his decision to take this golden eagle bow. TSK, another spiritual weapon. When I don't need it, I can directly swallow it. It's much more useful than the 3 low-grade crystal stones. Yi Xian took the golden eagle bow and was secretly delighted. That day, Lu Buping relied on a cold light dagger to increase his strength by a lot. However, today, Yi Xian also obtained one. With this golden eagle bow, even if he faced a 10th-ranked demonic beast, he would have confidence. Not to mention a 10th-ranked demonic beast, even if it was an airplane, he would be able to shoot it down. Master Ouyangming, don't worry. I will definitely complete this task. Yi Xian solemnly said. He could feel that this golden eagle bow in his hand had not been used before. It should have just been made. This was really tailor-made for him. Ouyangming looked at Yi Xian and revealed a satisfied expression. Then he said, "My luck today is not bad, to actually meet a genius like you. After this matter is over, I will give you a great opportunity." Great opportunity? Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes couldn't help but burst out 2 rays of light. Could it be that Ouyangming wanted to recommend him to become an official in the Profound Sun Empire? With his aptitude, he should at least be able to become the city lord of a large city, right? Many thanks, Master Ouyangming. When do we leave? Yi Xian was already somewhat impatient. As long as he completed the task, this golden eagle bow would be his. Then, he could even become an official in the Profound Sun Empire. Just thinking about it made him excited. With a high position, he could earn money quickly, level up quickly, and then be valued by the empire. This was an endless cycle. This matter should not be delayed, let's leave now. Ouyangming suddenly stood up. Okay. Yi Xian stood up and nodded solemnly. Following that, the 2 of them rushed towards the depths. Along the way, Ouyangming was also extremely shocked because he discovered that Yi Xian's physique was extremely strong. His explosive speed wasn't the slightest bit inferior to a martial artist at the 10th level of the martial Dao. As expected of a genius, his aptitude is probably even higher than Fan Jun's. If I can recruit him, he will be a powerful trump card in my team. In this competition, he will definitely amaze the world. Ouyangming thought to himself. Yi Xian and Ouyangming's speed was very fast. In less than half a day, they entered Lianyan's 16th mountain range. Then, under Ouyangming's lead, Yi Xian finally saw the canyon. Before he even got close, he smelled a fishy smell that almost made him vomit. So disgusting, blurg, Yi Xian quickly covered his nose. Even so, he still felt uncomfortable. Yi Xian, look at the canyon. Ouyangming walked to the edge of the cliff and said. Yi Xian followed. Then, he stumbled and almost fell off the cliff. At the bottom of the canyon, there were countless human limbs piled up. As far as the eye could see, their blood flowed into a cave in the distance. The remnants of the beast god sect should be in that cave. But this cliff is too high and difficult to climb. There are also demonic beasts patrolling the area. So, I can only reach the bottom with your help. Ouyangming suddenly frowned and turned his head. Those patrolling demonic beasts are here. Yi Xian, take care of them. Yi Xian followed Ouyangming's gaze. Indeed, a group of bird-type demonic beasts were flying in the distance. The scale was similar to the ones they encountered earlier. Yi Xian used a high-grade mortal weapon earlier. But now, the golden eagle bow in his hand was a spirit weapon. It could greatly increase the strength of one's spiritual power. They're here. I'll let you have a taste of my current attack. Yi Xian's eyes flashed and he suddenly drew the golden eagle bow. A spirit weapon was indeed a spirit weapon. Yi Xian could not draw the golden eagle bow to its fullest even with 200 beast bloodline. But, this was enough. Whoosh! A cold light shot out and instantly divided into 9 rays that shot into the group of demonic beasts. Then, some of the demonic beasts fell. Chapter 96. So powerful. The speed and size of the spiritual arrows have doubled. Yi Xian couldn't hide his joy as he shot another chaotic star arrow. This time, he actually shot down a 9th-ranked demonic beast, killing 2 of them with 1 arrow. Previously, his attacks were able to penetrate the demonic beasts' bodies, but this time, his attacks were able to penetrate them. This was the difference between them. Awesome, so awesome. Yi Xian was a little excited as he continuously plucked the bowstring. However, after the 4th round of attacks, all the demonic beasts in the sky fell from the sky. The chaotic star arrow that was enhanced by the golden eagle bow was extremely powerful. The force of the arrow directly pierced through the demonic beasts' bodies. As long as the demonic beasts' wings were injured, they would fall from such a high distance. Even if they didn't die, they would still be severely injured. Seems like there won't be much of a problem. Since it's still daytime, I will go down now. If there are any demonic beasts, I will rely on you. Ouyang Ming said to Yi Xian. Sir Ouyang, don't worry. Yi Xian said with a dignified expression. Since he accepted the golden eagle bow, he had to do it properly. There couldn't be a single mistake. Okay, you be careful too. Ouyang Ming said as he directly walked to the edge of the cliff and slowly climbed down. The demonic beasts that fell couldn't fly, but Yi Xian didn't go over to kill them and devour them. Sure enough, half a minute after Ouyang Ming went down, another group of demonic beasts came. Moreover, they flew over from the other side of the canyon. Just as this group of demonic beasts was about to attack Ouyang Ming, who had just climbed a 5th of the way down, Yi Xian made his move. In less than 10 seconds, this group of demonic beasts were all shot down by Yi Xian and fell into the canyon. Damn, these corpses are a pity. Yi Xian felt helpless, but he couldn't do anything about it. Who told this group of demonic beasts to fly over from the other side? However, the most regrettable thing for Yi Xian was that he couldn't devour human corpses. Otherwise, the tens of thousands of corpses in this canyon should be enough for him to break through to the true spirit realm, right? This cliff was very high. It was at least 100 meters away. Yi Xian wasn't very clear about the details. Ouyang Ming had been going down for 2 minutes, but he was only halfway up. However, there was nothing he could do about it. The cliff was too flat, and Ouyang Ming often had to carve out a climbing point to continue going down. Yi Xian stood guard at the edge of the cliff, constantly killing the patrolling demon beasts. Finally, after Yi Xian killed the 6th wave of demonic beasts, a slash soared into the sky. Upon seeing the slash, Yi Xian stuck his head out to take a look. He saw that Ouyang Ming had reached the bottom of the ravine, and the blood had reached his thighs. Yi Xian, be careful. I'll be right back. Ouyang Ming shouted. Yi Xian nodded. Then, Ouyang Ming jumped up and used the corpses floating on the sea of blood to quickly advance toward the catacombs. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Xian also rushed out. Just now, he killed a total of 6 waves of demonic beasts. 2 of them fell into the ravine, while the other 4 were on the cliff. Yi Xian spent some time to kill these demonic beasts and then devour them. It was another source of income. At this time, he was very close to the mid-stage of Martial Path 9th level. After devouring so many demonic beasts' corpses, Yi Xian obtained more than 260 points in the 100 Beasts Blood Essence slot. However, the 100 Beasts Blood Essence slot only increased the most during the first fusion. The following 160 points didn't increase much, but it was better than nothing. At this time, he was holding the golden eagle bow in his hand. He wanted to go to the 18th mountain range where 10th level demonic beasts roamed. After Ouyang Ming entered the catacombs, several waves of demonic beasts appeared in the sky. Yi Xian didn't reject them. He killed them all and devoured them. However, when the 4th wave of demonic beasts arrived, Yi Xian also realized that the sky was gradually darkening. This meant that wolf-type demonic beasts would start hunting humans in packs and then throw the corpses into the ravine. Master Ouyang Ming has been down there for half an hour. Why is there still no news? Could it be? Yi Xian thought to himself. He raised his hand and shot the demonic beasts to death. The fourth wave of demonic beasts was completely wiped out. However, just as Yi Xian was halfway through devouring the demonic beasts, an earth-shattering sound suddenly rang out in the sky. Hiss. This sound resounded through the sky and was extremely sharp. Even Yi Xian subconsciously covered his ears. What the hell? Yi Xian turned his head to look. When he saw a black shadow in the sky, his body couldn't help but tremble. He exclaimed, F***CK, there's a plane coming. The black shadow was extremely large. It was even larger than the airliners on Earth. As the sky wasn't completely dark yet, Yi Xian was able to clearly see what this black shadow was. A rock. It's a rock that's even bigger than a plane. Oh my god. Yi Xian couldn't help but open his mouth wide. At this moment, the rock had already flown to the sky above the ravine. It then slowly descended. Boom. 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 A loud noise suddenly came from the ravine. Yi Xian hurriedly went to the edge of the cliff to take a look. He saw two figures fighting fiercely below. The two figures fought for about 10 seconds. The other figure quickly jumped onto the rock's claw. Then, the rock began to rise. It really isn't Master Ouyangming. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed. He realized that the figure holding the rock's claw wasn't Ouyangming. It was a man in black with a bamboo hat. It seemed that this man in black was the surviving member of the Beast God sect. You want to leave? Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He immediately drew the golden eagle bow and shot a chaotic star arrow at the rock's claw. This chaotic star arrow was divided into 9 and shot toward the man in black. The black-clothed man holding the rock's claw felt something and waved his hand to block the chaotic star arrows. However, a cold light still flashed past and pierced through his bamboo hat. Stinking brat, you're courting death. The man in black shouted. However, he didn't look for trouble with Yi Xian personally. At this moment, Yi Xian finally realized that this was a ruthless person who could fight with Ouyangming, who was in the true spirit realm. Moreover, this rock that was larger than a plane seemed to be a spirit beast. Just now, he was hot-headed and attacked the opponent. Wasn't that courting death? Fortunately, the man in black didn't jump down. Otherwise, Yi Xian would be in trouble. Yi Xian watched as the rock that was larger than a plane carried the man in black away. Not long after, Ouyangming climbed up the same way he came. Chapter 97. That's right, it was the remnants of the beast god religion. This time, I went down and interrupted his resurrection ceremony. Fortunately, I arrived in time, or else things would be troublesome. Ouyangming said and quickly sat down cross-legged. He took out a pill from his interspatial ring and began to treat his injuries. After a while, his complexion began to recover, and his injuries were suppressed. This time, it was also out of my expectations. I didn't expect that he wasn't cultivating demonic arts, but preparing for the ceremony. If I was a step slower, he would have been able to resurrect a true energy boundary demon wolf. Ouyangming sighed in relief. True energy boundary? Hearing this, Yi Xian's heart trembled. Isn't this a boundary stronger than the true spirit boundary? This time, it's all thanks to you. If he was successfully resurrected, my profound Sun Empire would really be in deep trouble. Although I didn't manage to catch him, I will report this to the Empire and send experts to investigate. There's no time to lose, I have to leave for the imperial capital immediately. But before that, I want to give you something. As Ouyangming spoke, he took out a command medallion from his universe ring and handed it to Yi Xian. Then, he continued, in a few months, the profound Sun Emperor will hold a competition, and anyone under the age of 25 can participate. I stood out in this competition and was chosen by the Emperor to become a patrol envoy. If you have the intention, then come to South Forest City with this command medallion after the new year. Yi Xian took the token and glanced at it. There were only 2 words on it, Ouyang. So, this is the great fortune that Ouyangming was talking about. Although this was slightly different from what Yi Xian had thought, it was only one step more. As long as he displayed astonishing talent in this competition, he might be able to catch the eyes of some of the officials of the imperial court, or even the emperor. Thank you, Lord Ouyang. Yi Xian quickly thanked and kept the token. However, at this time, the ground suddenly began to shake, and it was getting more and more violent. Ouyang Ming's face changed. Not good. That black-clothed man must have called the surrounding demonic beasts. Come, I will send you out. Sure enough, just as he finished speaking, a black mass of figures appeared in the distance. A horde of demonic beasts. Yi Xian did not dare to be careless. Although he was strong, he still had to be cautious when facing hundreds and thousands of demonic beasts. He immediately followed Ouyang Ming. With a true spirit realm expert around, his safety was still very high. Next, Yi Xian would see what the true spirit realm was like. While running, Ouyang Ming suddenly took out a large saber from his interspatial ring and slashed at the group of demonic beasts in front of him. Whoosh! A huge slash cut through the air and instantly swept into the group of demonic beasts, splitting a dozen demonic beasts in half. Then, it exploded with a loud bang. Boom! Broken limbs flew everywhere. This explosion directly killed dozens of demonic beasts. Is this the power of a true spirit realm expert? His attack is like a missile, it's like a man-made bomber. Yi Xian was incomparably shocked. If he had such strength, his farming speed would definitely be top-notch. However, at this moment, there were thousands of demonic beasts running towards them, so he did not dare to stay and quickly left with Ouyang Ming. With a true spirit realm expert like Ouyang Ming, Yi Xian did not even have a chance to attack. Yi Xian roughly calculated that Ouyang Ming had killed at least 3,000 demonic beasts along the way. This group of demonic beasts was also chasing after them, but they did not follow the two of them out of the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, so Yi Xian could be considered to be safe. However, when Yi Xian left the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, it was already daytime. They had been running for an entire night. Yi Xian, it's time for me to go. If you are interested in the competition, come find me in South Forest City. After leaving the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, Ouyang Ming said to Yi Xian. Lord Ouyang, I will go. Yi Xian nodded. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so how could he not go? Alright, then let's part ways here. After Ouyang Ming finished speaking, he turned around and left. He had to immediately report to the imperial family in the imperial capital. A remnant of the beast god's sect was able to command such a huge demonic beast army. If they were to rise, the entire Mystic Sun Empire would be in trouble. Fortunately, the black-clothed man did not seem to want to make a big fuss, so he did not let the demonic beasts rush out of the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. Otherwise, Yi Xian and Ouyang Ming would have to flee. Looking at Ouyang Ming's departing figure, Yi Xian remained silent for a while. TSK, there are so many corpses along the way, I can't let them go to waste. Yi Xian suddenly revealed a smile, then he suddenly swallowed all the heaven and earth treasures in the devouring space. Ding! Host has broken through to the mid-stage of Martial Path 9th stage. He was originally tens of millions away from breaking through, but after swallowing 100 million worth of heaven and earth treasures, he directly broke through. Only then would he have the confidence to return. After all, there were 10th level demonic beasts from the 18 mountain ranges chasing after them last night. However, for the sake of those corpses, Yi Xian had to return once. Those corpses were worth at least 100 million. However, what made him feel helpless was that the scale of the demonic beast's pursuit this time was too large, and it attracted the attention of many human warriors. When he returned, he already saw many people collecting the materials from the demonic beasts. There's no other way, I can only disguise myself and collect them. In desperation, Yi Xian could only change into a set of black clothes. Although it was broad daylight, he could only do so in order to not let others see his appearance. After changing into a set of black clothes, Yi Xian only revealed his two eyes. He looked at the corpses on the ground and suddenly rushed out. Let me see if anyone can keep up with my speed. Yi Xian thought in his heart and directly rushed to the side of a demonic beast, then he swallowed it. There were a few human warriors collecting the materials of a 9th-level demonic beast in the surroundings. When they saw the corpse of a demonic beast disappear, they were stunned. Big brother, did I see wrongly? The corpse disappeared? Disappeared my ass, that's definitely an interspatial ring. Kill him. An interspatial ring, the cheapest one, costs at least 10 low-grade crystals. If we can get it, we won't have to live a life of bloodshed in the future. Kill. In an instant, those human warriors madly rushed toward Yi Xian. Humph, you want to kill me? Are you prepared to die? Feeling the movement behind him, Yi Xian suddenly turned around and took out the cloud-piercing bow. The golden eagle bow was too eye-catching. If he took it out and used it, it would definitely cause some trouble. Moreover, to kill these warriors who had not even reached the 8th level of martial path, did he need to use a spiritual weapon? Chapter 98. This time, Yi Xian didn't only want to devour these bloodlines, he also wanted to set an example and use himself to seduce those people. If they dared to have any ideas about him, he would mercilessly kill them and plunder their possessions. A bloody battle was about to begin. With Yi Xian's mid-stage 9th realm martial path cultivation, coupled with his 100 Beasts bloodline and Wind Leopard bloodline, he could definitely fight against a 10th realm martial path cultivator. The entire 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan was in an uproar because there were thousands of demonic beasts chasing after two people. Then, a man in black with an interspatial ring appeared and started to collect the corpses of the demonic beasts. Most importantly, the man in black's interspatial ring was like a bottomless pit that couldn't be filled. Almost all the corpses of the demonic beasts were collected by him. Only a small number of people managed to collect some materials before escaping. At first, there were still people who wanted to attack the man in black, but they were all killed by him, including 9th realm martial path cultivators. After that, no one dared to attack him. They could only watch him collect the corpses of the demonic beasts. Then, he disappeared. 3 days later, in a corner of the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, Yi Xian took off his black clothes and changed into his own clothes. He looked like he was here to train. If anyone saw him, they would definitely not associate him with the man in black who caused a ruckus in the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. Most importantly, he didn't have anything like a ring on him. Tisk, tsk, tsk. What a great harvest this time. Just the corpses of the demonic beasts alone are worth more than 100 million. Coupled with those suicidal people, I'm going to break through soon. Yi Xian was secretly delighted. This time, his harvest was at least 400 million taels of silver, most of which came from those greedy cultivators. He even found a low-grade crystal that was worth 100 million taels of silver. Not only that, but after devouring so many demonic beasts, his demonic beast blood essence slot had increased greatly. Now, his blood essence count had reached 500 types, and his physique had improved again. If I devour the golden eagle bow, I can break through to the peak of 9th realm martial path. However, if I want to exchange for a spiritual artifact bow from the devouring system, I need 400 devouring points. It's not worth it. I'll wait. Yi Xian resisted the temptation and didn't devour the golden eagle bow. However, he had an important problem. Now, he had more than 1,000 devouring points, and more than 1,300 points. And the intermediate level of the Wind Leopard bloodline. He was hesitating whether he should spend 1,000 devouring points to raise the bloodline of the Wind-seeking Leopard to the intermediate level. In that case, his speed would skyrocket, and his strength would also increase accordingly. He thought about it for a long time and finally decided to put it aside. After all, this matter was not urgent, and he still had some use for these devour points. Initially, he wanted to spend some time in the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan to collect demonic beast blood essence. But now, there was no need for that anymore. He immediately left the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan and prepared to meet up with Guan Yulan. Guan Yulan temporarily lived in a small town outside the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. When Yi Xian returned to the inn, he was shocked to find that the little wolf cub had already grown to the size of a pug. How is that possible? Yulan, what's going on? I've only been gone for 7 days. How did it grow so big? Yi Xian couldn't help but ask when he saw Qin Yu. I don't know either. Guan Yulan shook her head in confusion. A Wu, at this moment, Whisper, who was already the size of a pug, jumped off the bed and rushed to Yi Xian's side. She rubbed her head against Yi Xian's leg in an extremely intimate manner. F***ck, is this a dog or a wolf? Have they all become spirits? Yi Xian was speechless, but he knew that this should be the work of the demonic beast growth plan. Although it was no longer a cold-blooded animal, it was still good. It meant that its intelligence had increased and it could recognize Guan Yulan as its master. If it was raised well, it might become a spiritual beast in the future. Yi Xian carried Qin Yu and said to Guan Yulan, "Okay, I'm done with my business. Let's go." These few days, Guan Yulan rarely went out, but she heard about what happened in the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. She immediately asked, "These few days, the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan has not been peaceful. It's good that you're fine." If it wasn't for the size of the 18 mountain ranges, she would have gone to find Yi Xian. "Yeah, I guess it's because of me. Let's go. I'll tell you more on the way." Yi Xian smiled and left with Qin Yu. Since he was done with his business, it was time for him to leave. Their next stop was the 1,000 Gold City before returning to Lianyan City. Along the way, Yi Xian told Guan Yulan about what happened in the past few days, including his encounter with Ouyang Ming. Guan Yulan listened with great interest. However, when she heard that Yi Xian had broken through to the mid-stage of the 9th stage of the martial path, she suddenly became dejected. Yi Xian's talent surpassed hers by too much. If she didn't work harder, she would be left behind by Yi Xian. When that time came, she wouldn't be able to see Yi Xian again. After a few days, they finally arrived at the 1,000 Gold City. However, before they entered the city, they felt a strange atmosphere. Why were there so many guards at the 1,000 Gold City's gate? When he came to the 1,000 Gold City before, there were only 5 guards at the gate. However, there were 20 guards now. Moreover, everyone who wanted to leave the city had to go through a search before they could pass. Why was that? I guess there's a wanted criminal. Yi Xian didn't think too much and walked over with Guan Yulan. Those who entered the city didn't need to be searched, so Yi Xian naturally walked to the gate. However, when he glanced around, he was shocked. At the entrance of the city gate, there was also a wanted poster. Wanted criminal, Shueqingqing. Yi Xian was completely stunned. Why was Shueqingqing a wanted criminal in the 1,000 Gold City? The drawing on this wanted poster was of a young girl. Although the drawing wasn't very good, it did look somewhat similar to Shueqingqing. Most importantly, the words Shueqingqing were written on the side. Oh no, something happened to the Xue family. Yi Xian's face darkened and he quickened his pace. Guan Yulan was a little surprised, but she didn't ask and followed Yi Xian. Stop. At this moment, a guard at the gate shouted. Yi Xian's feet paused. He thought that it was because of Qin Yu that the guards called him down. However, when he turned around, he realized that the guard wasn't calling them, but a man in a bamboo hat who was about to leave the city. Chapter 99. Stop right there. When the bamboo hat man heard this shout, he immediately stopped in his tracks. Then, he suddenly took out a cloth bag from his arms and threw it out. He then blasted the cloth bag with a palm strike, causing it to explode. In an instant, countless white powder floated up, and the entire passageway of the city wall became smoky. Is that flour? Yi Xian also blasted out a series of palm strikes, fanning away the white powder around him. But in the next moment, he heard the sound of battle. It's a wanted criminal, quickly close the city gates. This was the voice of the guard. Hearing this, Yi Xian's face stiffened. Now, there was only one wanted criminal in Wanjin City, and that was Shueqingqing, whose portrait was still stuck on the city walls. She's Shueqingqing? Yi Xian immediately reacted. No wonder he felt that the bamboo hat man's figure was familiar, it was Shueqingqing. It seems that something really happened to the Shui family. You bunch of bad guys, let go of me, or else my fiancé will definitely teach you a lesson. A familiar voice floated in front of the white fog. It was Shui Qingqing. It's really him. This time, Yi Xian could no longer remain calm. After whispering to Guan Yulan, he instantly rushed out. Guan Yulan also followed closely behind. Bang! Bang! Two muffled sounds rang out, and several guards flew out while clutching their chests in pain. By the time they reacted, the wanted criminal in their eyes had already disappeared. Not good, there's an accomplice, quickly informed the city lord. The captain of the guards looked around and found that the city gates were already closed, so he immediately shouted. Shui Qingqing, who was preparing to leave the city in disguise, had used a camouflage technique, but because her strength was too weak, she was easily captured by the guards. However, at this time, a handsome figure suddenly made a move and sent the surrounding guards flying, saving her. By the time she reacted, she found that she was already being carried horizontally by the other party, moving quickly on the streets. No, I'm a married man. Shui Qingqing thought in her heart and hurriedly said, put me down. Hee, little girl, you don't even recognize me? A familiar voice fell into her ears. She focused her eyes and was shocked to find that the person who was carrying her and running away was her fiancé in name. Yi Xian, it's you? Shui Qingqing cried out in surprise. If it's not me, then who is it? Yi Xian glanced at her, then fled into a small alley. At this time, they were already far away from the city walls. After Yi Xian entered the alley, Guan Yulan followed him in. When Shui Qingqing saw someone enter, she was about to cry out in alarm, but in the next moment, she suddenly realized that the person who came was a beautiful girl, not a guard of the Myriad Gold City. He's one of us, don't worry. Yi Xian said as he pulled Shui Qingqing into a dead end. Then, he asked, what happened? Why are you wanted? Shui Qingqing wanted to ask who the woman behind Yi Xian was, but when she heard this question, she immediately cried and explained, my family was raided by the mayor, and my entire family was captured and locked up. Why? Yi Xian had a bad premonition. The Shui family was in trouble because of him. After all, he killed the son of the mayor of the City of Gold. The city lord casually gave a crime to my father, saying that my father had betrayed the country and was a spy for another country. Shui Qingqing said tearfully. Yi Xian's heart trembled. Sure enough, it was because of him. When the mayor of the City of Gold, Zhang Lai, found out that his son was killed, he wanted to avenge his son, but Yi Xian's identity was not ordinary, so he casually accused Shui Hai and raided the Shui family. So you're saying that uncle is in the mayor's residence now? Yi Xian asked in surprise. Yes, my parents were captured. Even the Shui family's consecrator did not escape. Shui Qingqing nodded with tears in her eyes. Is that so? Yi Xian felt very guilty. The mayor of a big city was an official of the Profound Sun Empire, so he couldn't do anything. However, all of this was caused by him, so how could he just stand by and watch? He hated it the most when someone attacked the people around him, even if they scolded him. How about this, you can find an inn to stay in, and I will go to the mayor's residence to investigate. Yi Xian said. But, you... Shui Qingqing was shocked. Yi Xian wanted to investigate the mayor's residence alone? Wasn't that courting death? Don't worry, I am very powerful now. Even the mayor is not my match. Yi Xian smiled. The mayor of the City of Gold, Zhang Lai, was only in the early 9th stage of the martial path, while he was in the middle 9th stage of the martial path. Even the mayor. Shui Qingqing was shocked. She hadn't seen Yi Xian for a long time, but he had already become so powerful. Alright, don't worry. I will go and find a way to rescue them. After Yi Xian finished speaking, he brought Shui Qingqing to an inn and told her to hide in it. Yi Xian was more at ease with Guan Yulan around. Although Guan Yulan was in the early 8th stage of the martial path, she was still a disciple of the Shattering Cloud sect. Her strength was stronger than the middle 8th stage of the martial path, and could even be compared to the peak 8th stage of the martial path. After leaving the inn, Yi Xian asked around for the location of the mayor's residence and directly rushed there. In fact, he could hide and then create a scene in the mayor's residence to rescue Shui Hai and the others. However, if he did that, everyone in the Shui family would become wanted criminals. It would be fine if they were only wanted in the City of Gold, but if the mayor of the City of Gold passed the arrest warrant to other cities, it would be troublesome. Therefore, he had to use proper means to rescue everyone in the Shui family and remove Shui Qingqing's arrest warrant. Yi Xian arrived at the entrance of the mayor's residence. After pondering for a moment, he directly walked over. "Halt, who are you?" The guards of the mayor's residence stopped Yi Xian. At this time, Yi Xian directly took out a token and said, "I am Yi Xian, a mentor of the Shattering Cloud sect. I want to see your mayor." The guard was stunned, but immediately revealed a look of disdain. He walked forward and said, "Where did this little brat come from? If you are really a mentor of the Shattering Cloud sect, then I am the emperor of the dynasty. So you don't believe me?" Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. "Get lost. You want to see our city lord like this?" The guard obviously didn't believe him, but he couldn't be blamed. After all, a mentor of the Shattering Cloud sect had to be in the 9th stage of the martial path. Hee. Yi Xian didn't say much. He felt that if he could use violence, he should try not to use his mouth. Bang! Suddenly, a strong force exploded in front of the 6th stage martial path guard, instantly sending him flying. "How dare you!" When the other guard saw this, he immediately raised his sword and faced it. Chapter 100. However, before this person's front foot could land, a figure flashed to his side. Then, a fist shot out, and like that guard, he was also sent flying. "Zhang Lai, get out here!" Yi Xian roared at the sky. His voice reverberated throughout the city. Almost half of the people in the city could hear him. At that moment, the surrounding people were wondering who Zhang Lai was. However, in the next moment, they came to their senses. Zhang Lai was the governor of the City of Gold. Who was so bold to challenge the governor of the City of Gold? In an instant, many people gathered around, only to see a young man standing outside the city lord's mansion. Was that him? Isn't that young man the son-in-law of the Shui family? Someone recognized Yi Xian. I see. The Shui family was found to have betrayed the country a few days ago. He must be here to save them. But, betraying the country is a serious crime. They will be beheaded. Can he save them? That might not be the case. He is the disciple of the deputy sect leader of the Shattered Cloud sect. The Shattered Cloud sect is a large sect. I heard that the sect leader is a super powerful individual. Although there were many ordinary people in the crowd, there was no lack of well-informed people. Soon, more and more people gathered. Following that, many powerful individuals rushed out of the mansion. There were guards and consecrators that Zhang Lai had recruited. "Brat, how dare you call the governor by his name in front of the mansion?" A burly man walked out, surrounded by many powerful individuals. He had just appeared and someone recognized him. "It's Chao Ba, the chief of guards of the mansion. I heard that he is a consecrator that the governor has just recruited. He used to be a teacher of the Shattered Sky sect. His strength is not to be underestimated." When the burly man walked out, the crowd could not help but take a step back. This was because Chao Ba was extremely cruel. He had already killed a few people this month. Furthermore, they were all innocent people. Therefore, his ferocious name had spread throughout the Million Gold City. After Chao Ba walked out, he looked around and his attention landed on Yi Xian. "You are the one who is shouting?" Yi Xian looked at him and felt the violent aura from him. He did not expect Zhang Lai to have recruited a martial artist in the 9th rank of the martial path. His luck was not bad. "That's right." Yi Xian nodded. "How dare you? You are courting death." Chao Ba was also an impatient person. If there was a disagreement, he would immediately attack. He took a step forward and extended his hand to slap Yi Xian's face. If his bear-like hand were to slap an ordinary person's face, it would definitely be able to send their head flying. Before some people could close their eyes, a crisp sound rang out. At the same time, a group of people cried out in alarm. However, what they expected did not happen. Yi Xian was still standing at the same spot. Qiao Ba was no longer there. Where is Qiao Ba? I think he flew into the Castellan Manor. How is that possible? The group of people could not believe it. Those who did not close their eyes did not see Yi Xian's attack. They also did not see Qiao Ba fly out. Only a few martial artists saw an afterimage. Yi Xian did not care about Qiao Ba at all. After sending him flying with a punch, Yi Xian shouted again, "Zhang Lai, come out. Who is looking for me?" Before Yi Xian finished his words, a person walked out of the Castellan Manor. It was Zhang Lai, who had met Yi Xian once before. "It's you?" Zhang Lai exclaimed when he saw Yi Xian. This was because Yi Xian was the murderer of his son. "That's right. It's me." Yi Xian nodded. At the same time, he noticed that Zhang Lai's body was trembling when he saw him. It was obvious that Zhang Lai was flustered and exasperated. He could attack at any time. However, he knew Yi Xian's identity. He was the disciple of the Shattering Cloud sect's vice-sect leader. He could not act recklessly. "Yi Xian, you are the murderer of my son. How dare you appear in front of me today?" Zhang Lai said with an ashen face. "What?" When everyone heard this, they were immediately shocked. The young city lord of Thousand Gold City was killed? Moreover, it was the son-in-law of the Shui family? Now, the surrounding crowd finally understood why Zhang Lai captured Shui Hai. So this was the reason. Revenge. He was using his power to take revenge. "City Lord Zhang, how dare you? You covet the Shui family's property and accuse them of betraying the country. How dare you?" Yi Xian looked at Zhang Lai with a cold expression. "You're lying." Zhang Lai was exposed by Yi Xian and immediately shouted. "Whether I'm lying or not depends on the evidence. However, I only know that you captured my father-in-law and his family." Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and said. "The Shui family betrayed the country. The evidence is conclusive." Zhang Lai replied. "I said that I only know that you captured my father-in-law and his family. Regardless of whether you have evidence or not, I hope that you can let them go." Although Yi Xian used the word hope, his attitude was very firm. If he did not let them go, he would not let the matter rest. Zhang Lai was a city lord after all, yet Yi Xian was actually acting so arrogantly in front of him. This was simply provoking his authority. He immediately shouted angrily, "What big words! You're just a commoner, how dare you order me around? Hee, I'm just saying, hope. However, if the city lord does not let them go, I have other ways to make the city lord release them." Yi Xian said with a smile. "Humph, you think you have the right to make me release them?" Zhang Lai did not care. Although Yi Xian's identity was not ordinary, he was in the territory of the Profound Sun Empire. Furthermore, he was an official of the Profound Sun Empire. Although his position was not high, it was still an official. Why would he be afraid of Yi Xian? "I'm just a commoner. Of course, I don't have the ability to make the city lord release them. However, the patrol inspector of the South Forest region, Yang, should have the power to do so." After Yi Xian finished speaking, he suddenly took out a token. It was the token that Yang gave him that day. Patrol inspector? Hearing this, Zhang Lai could not help but tremble. He saw the word Yang written on the token in Yi Xian's hand. The status of a patrol inspector was comparable to that of a duke. Impossible. How do you know Yang? Zhang Lai could not believe it. "Humph," Yi Xian snorted and threw the token in his hand over. Zhang Lai caught it and looked at it. His face instantly turned green. The material of the token was very special. It was the material of the Profound Sun Empire's royal family. It was not something that ordinary people could get their hands on. Impossible. How does Yi Xian know the patrol inspector? This is impossible. Chapter 101. However, the token in Yi Xian's hand could not be fake. This was because he also had one. However, the quality of the token was not as good as the one in his hand. Now, there were only two possibilities. One was that Yi Xian obtained the token by accident. Two was that Yi Xian really knew Ouyang Ming. Mayor Zhang, please return the token to me. Yi Xian suddenly reminded him. Zhang Lai threw the token back. He didn't know what to do. City Lord Zhang, I wonder if you can release him now? Yi Xian looked at Zhang Lai with a smile that wasn't a smile. No. Zhang Lai subconsciously shouted. Yi Xian nodded slightly and smiled. Since Mayor Zhang does not believe me, then I can only go to South Forest City to look for Sir Ouyang. When the time comes, I believe Sir Ouyang will investigate who is the traitor. Goodbye. After he finished speaking, he turned and left. His speed was so fast that it exceeded everyone's reaction. Not good. Zhang Lai's face instantly sank to the bottom. He didn't expect Yi Xian to leave just like that. He didn't give him any time to hesitate and immediately shouted, "Wait." By the time he finished speaking, Yi Xian had already appeared a few dozen meters away. If Zhang Lai had shouted any slower, he would have disappeared from everyone's line of sight. He smiled and turned around. City Lord Zhang, is there anything else? Zhang Lai looked at him with a gloomy face and said slowly, Chao Ba, release him. Compromise, the mayor had compromised. Everyone present was shocked. The mayor of the City of Gold, who had always been a man of his word, actually compromised with Yi Xian. However, when they thought of the token in Yi Xian's hand, they calmed down. If Yi Xian really knew Patrol Inspector Ouyang Ming, then Zhang Lai would be in trouble. He would be accused of betraying the Shui family. If he was investigated, then his position as the mayor would be finished. He did not dare to take the risk, so he compromised. Not long after, Chao Ba led a group of people from the Shui family out. These people from the Shui family had spent the past few days in fear. They never thought that they would be able to see the light of day again. Yi Xian, is that you? When Shui Hai saw Yi Xian, he was enlightened. Speaking of which, his Shui family did not know many people. Who else could save the Shui family other than Yi Xian? Uncle, take a look. Are all the captured people here? Yi Xian looked at Shui Hai and asked. Shui Hai looked around and nodded. We're here. All the captured people are here. Yi Xian also looked around. There were about 30 to 40 people here, but he didn't see a single person. Uncle, where's consecrated Lian? Yi Xian suddenly remembered the former Shattering Cloud sect instructor who had helped him cover up the lie at the Shui family. Hearing this name, Shui Hai frowned and said, even the worshipper was beaten to death. Okay, I got it. This news made Yi Xian's heart skip a beat. Although he had only met Lian Yuan once, Lian Yuan had helped him once. In order to take revenge, Zhang Lai not only captured everyone from the Shui family, but also beat them to death. Hence, he had to pay the price in blood. However, this was not the time to do so. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly turned around and said, Mayor Zhang, you've confiscated the Shui family. Other than releasing people, do you still have to compensate for your losses? Yi Xian, don't go too far. Zhang Lai immediately reprimanded him. The reason why he had compromised and released Shui Shi and the rest was because they were no longer of much use. When he confiscated the Shui family's property, he had already taken away all the valuable items from the Shui family. Now, he had to return these items and compensate for his losses. This was absolutely impossible. One had to know that this was an astronomical figure. Okay. Let's not talk about this for now. My fiancé Shui Qingqing's portrait is still on the city gate. Shouldn't you release the arrest warrant? Yi Xian looked at Zhang Lai. Zhang Lai coldly snorted and ordered someone to release the arrest warrant at the city gate. Okay. Mayor Zhang, let's meet again next time. Yi Xian gave Zhang Lai a devilish smile. Then, he quickly left with Shui Hai and the rest and went to the inn where Shui Qingqing was hiding. Father. When Shui Qingqing saw Shui Hai, she immediately rushed over. She suddenly realized that Shui Hai had lost a lot of weight. Even his white hair had grown longer. Yi Xian, it's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, we would have been dead. Shui Hai said with tears running down his cheeks. Uncle, this is all because of me. I'm the one who harmed you. However, you can't stay in Thousand Gold City anymore. Why don't you go to Lianyan City first? Yi Xian suggested. That's right. We have already fallen out with Zhang Lai. We can only leave. Lianyan City is a good place to go. Although I am penniless now, I, Shui Hai, believe that I can make a comeback. Shui Hai felt that it was a pity. All the properties of the Shui family were taken over by Zhang Lai. They were penniless and Lianyan City was just a small city. How could it be easy to make a comeback? Uncle, since that's the case, let's go now. Yi Xian said and left immediately. He went to buy a few carriages and prepared to escort Shui Hai and the rest to Lianyan City. Now that the Shui family's properties were confiscated, they were unable to pay those consecrators. Therefore, those consecrators left and some even joined the Zhang family. That afternoon, Yi Xian led the Shui family's team and rushed towards Lianyan City. There wasn't a single guard in the team. However, with Yi Xian around, they would be fine. On the way to Lianyan City, Yi Xian used cultivation as an excuse to stay in one of the carriages. He also instructed the others not to disturb his cultivation. But in the evening, he took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention and quietly left. The purpose of his trip was to return to the City of Thousand Gold. If he didn't take revenge, he wasn't a gentleman. Zhang Lai confiscated the Shui family and even killed the consecrator who helped Yi Xian before. Therefore, Yi Xian returned to make Zhang Lai pay the price. The price of blood. Of course, before he left, he secretly told Guan Yulan about his plan. With Guan Yulan around, the team was relatively safe. The team didn't travel fast. Although they traveled for half a day, Yi Xian used his physique to return to Thousand Gold City without much effort. Now that Shui Qingqing's arrest warrant had been issued, the number of guards at the city gates had decreased and they didn't need to search. Yi Xian disguised himself slightly and snuck into the city. At this moment, it was already night time. The Shui family just left and the Castellan mansion was destroyed. People will definitely suspect me. However, I don't care so much. So what if they suspect me? Chapter 102. Tonight was destined to not be a peaceful night. No one noticed that a black shadow had already entered the city lord's mansion. At this moment, there were two figures in one of the rooms of the Castellan manor. One of them was the mayor of the City of Gold, Zhang Lai, while the other was Chao Ba, who was sent flying by Yi Xian earlier in the day. Zhang Lai sat on a chair with a gloomy expression. His brows were furrowed as if he was thinking about something. Castellan, are you going to let them go just like that? Chao Ba, who was standing in front of Zhang Lai, asked. I didn't expect that brat to know the patrol envoy. It seems that I can't touch that brat. However, I didn't expect the Shui family to be so rich. They have more assets than me, the Castellan. This is not bad. Furthermore, now that the Shui family has left the City of Gold, the City of Gold belongs to me. Congratulations, Castellan. Chao Ba hurriedly clasped his fist. Although he was sent flying by Yi Xian and suffered some injuries, he also heard that Fan Yu was crippled by Yi Xian. He couldn't afford to offend such a daring person. One had to know that there were many people who wanted to take revenge for Fan Yu. Other than the sky-cracking sect, there was also the Fan family of South Forest City. Just as Zhang Lai and Chao Ba were discussing how to develop the Thousand Gold City in the future, a figure suddenly rushed in from outside the door. Castellan, someone has invaded. There are more than one people who want to attack the Castellan manor. Why are you reporting to me? Zhang Lai furrowed his brows and said. The guard who came to report swallowed his saliva and stammered, "City Lord, it's an expert this time. He has already killed 8 of our guards." "What?" Qiao Ba exclaimed. He suspected that he had heard wrongly. Every group of guards in the Castellan Manor had 10 people, and they were all at least in the 6th rank of the martial path. 8 groups meant that there were 80 people. It seems that this person is at least in the 8th rank of the martial path. "Castellan, I'll be back soon." Qiao Ba left with a gloomy expression. After all, those who died were his subordinates. Zhang Lai did not mind. After all, he was the only one in power now. There would definitely be many people eyeing him. And Qiao Ba was his trusted aide, someone he had recruited with great difficulty. He believed that with Qiao Ba's strength, he would definitely be able to capture that thief and deliver him to him. However, this time, he was wrong. Furthermore, he was very wrong. That's strange. Qiao Ba has already been gone for more than 10 minutes. Could it be that he couldn't do anything to that intruder with his strength? Zhang Lai was very surprised. Just as he was about to go out and take a look, he was shocked to find that someone had ambushed him. "You dare to sneak attack me? You really overestimate yourself." Zhang Lai dodged the attack, but in the next moment, he was shocked to find that what he dodged was not a hidden weapon, nor an arrow, but a head. Moreover, he recognized this head. It belonged to Qiao Ba, the chief guard of the city lord's mansion. What? Zhang Lai started to panic. Qiao Ba was at the 9th rank of the martial path, the same as him. However, Qiao Ba's head had already been chopped off. This meant that the other party definitely had the ability to kill him. Who dares to be so presumptuous in my city lord's mansion? Although Zhang Lai was a little scared, he was a city lord and an official of the Xianyang Empire. Not everyone had the guts to kill him. "City Lord Zhang, how have you been?" Suddenly, a woman's voice rang out. Shortly after, a black figure landed in his courtyard. "It's a woman?" Zhang Lai quickly thought for a moment, but he could not remember anything. He did not recognize this voice. This black figure was actually Yi Xian. Before sneaking into the city lord's mansion, he spent some devour points to buy a voice-changing bead from the devour system. He disguised himself as a mature woman. Coupled with his black clothes and the night sky, unless his mask fell off, he would not be recognized. "City Lord Zhang is really forgetful. It seems that you have forgotten what you did to my family back then. Today, I am here to take revenge." Yi Xian purposely spoke very loudly so that the surrounding people could hear. Back then? Zhang Lai's face darkened. He had done too many things and he could not remember which clan this tall lady in front of him belonged to. "Cut the crap, Zhang Lai. Today is the day you die." Yi Xian shouted and rushed in front of Zhang Lai. He then used his gloved right hand and punched Zhang Lai's chest. To be precise, he punched Zhang Lai's heart. Pung! Zhang Lai's heart stopped after receiving such a heavy blow. Yi Xian was in the middle stage 9th rank of the martial path. He was 1 rank higher than Zhang Lai. Furthermore, he had the 100 Beasts bloodline and high-ranked martial arts. It was easy for him to kill Zhang Lai. "Run! The city lord is dead." Immediately, the guards outside scattered. Even Zhang Lai and Qiao Ba, who were in the 9th rank of the martial path, were dead. What was the point of them staying here? However, Yi Xian, who'd killed Zhang Lai, secretly revealed a smile. "Merge with the bloodline of the treasure-hunting deer," Yi Xian said in his heart. The bloodline of the treasure-hunting deer was also a low-ranked bloodline. However, it was worth 300 devouring points, which was 3 times more than the 100 Beasts bloodline. The treasure-hunting deer, as its name suggested, was specialized in finding treasures. After merging with the bloodline, it could sense things with spiritual energy within a certain range. For example, medicinal herbs, pills, etc. It was also because of this that Yi Xian didn't leave Zhang Lai alive. Ding! Merging successful. A system notification sounded in his mind. Alright, let's start looking for treasures. After merging with the bloodline of the treasure-hunting deer, Yi Xian could clearly sense that there were treasures around him. However, he did not know where they were. The bloodline of the treasure-hunting deer was only able to sense things, which was why it was so cheap. It seems like it is in Zhang Lai's study room. Yi Xian glanced at his surroundings, then strode into the study. The study room was not big, but there were a few bookshelves. Yi Xian felt that something was wrong the moment he entered. Something was wrong. He checked and soon found a mechanism. Gotcha! 2 rows of bookshelves suddenly moved apart, revealing a secret passage that led underground. Such a small trick, it won't stop me. Yi Xian snorted and then started to walk down. Before he reached the end, he saw a few special iron doors. However, these iron doors could only stop a martial artist of the martial path 8th rank. For Yi Xian, it was not difficult at all. After a while, Yi Xian looked at the huge pile of treasure chests in front of him and could not help but laugh out loud. This was probably the Zhang family's treasure vault. Perhaps, there were still things that they had plundered from the Shui family. Forget it, I will put them all into the devouring space first. Yi Xian did not care about anything else and kept all the treasures into the devouring space. Although he did not know if these were all of Zhang Lai's possessions, he knew that there were many more treasures in the mansion. Chapter 103. As the city lord, Zhang Lai must be extremely wealthy. Furthermore, there were many consecrators in the Zhang mansion, all of whom were under the care of Yi Xian. In this city, no one could stop Yi Xian. Yi Xian was like a vampire, sucking blood crazily. Not only that, he also found out about the properties of the Zhang family, including those of the Shui family. After leaving the city lord mansion, he went to these shops one by one. The elixir store, the weapon store, and the martial arts pavilion were all plundered. Awesome, this is so awesome. Just the silver notes alone add up to 200 million. After robbing the last restaurant, Yi Xian could not help but roar in his heart. Just the silver alone gave him 200 million. If he added the things he plundered, the income this time was at least 500 million. This was not even counting the treasure vault under the city lord's mansion. If he counted the treasure vault, it would be at least 700 to 800 million. Due to the incident in the city lord mansion, the city walls were closed in advance. However, even the special door of the city lord mansion's underground treasure vault could not stop Yi Xian, let alone these ordinary city gates. Not good, the city lord's murderer has escaped from the city. The guards shouted. Today, the city of gold was destined to be in chaos. The city lord was dead and the entire city lord mansion was plundered. Not only that, but the properties of the city lord mansion were also plundered. However, Yi Xian was not worried at all. He was afraid that the higher-ups would only think that there was an expert who plundered the city lord mansion for money. While the city of gold was in chaos, Yi Xian had already rushed to the Shui family's carriage at full speed. Huff, huff, no one noticed. Yi Xian returned to his carriage and quickly changed his clothes. This time, his harvest was the biggest ever. He was prepared to leave the silver and the martial arts to the Shui family. As for the rest, he would devour them all. Ding! Host has broken through to the peak of martial realm 9th rank. After the trip to the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, Yi Xian was on the verge of a breakthrough. Now that he had devoured so many things, he directly broke through to the peak of martial realm 9th rank. He was only one step away from martial realm 10th rank. Damn it, I need more and more things. I don't know if I will need more than 1 billion when I reach martial realm 10th rank. Yi Xian felt a headache in his heart. However, he always had a plan to earn money in his heart, but he never had a place to implement it. Let's buy an intermediate bloodline. Right now, Yi Xian was a nouveau riche. He had a total of 1500 devour points, and he only needed 1000 devour points to raise the wind-seeking leopard bloodline to the intermediate level. However, in the next moment, Yi Xian was stunned or the system prompted. Unable to fuse? Yi Xian was stunned. It seemed like it was because his cultivation level was not high enough. He had no choice but to give up and wait until he reached Martial Realm 10th rank. At this moment, the sound of footsteps suddenly came from outside the carriage, followed by a clear voice. Yi Xian, are you there? It was a lowly's voice. Obviously, it was Shueqingqing and not Guan Yulan. Didn't I tell you not to look for me? Yi Xian rolled his eyes. He clearly said not to disturb his cultivation. Fortunately, he came back early. Otherwise, wouldn't he be exposed? Come in. Yi Xian said. Then, he saw a petite figure enter. It was Shueqingqing. Shueqingqing lifted the curtain and entered the carriage. But it was very dark inside the carriage. She could only vaguely see where Yi Xian was sitting. Why are you looking for me? Yi Xian asked. You are my fiancé. Must I have a reason to look for you? Shueqingqing said with some dissatisfaction. Yes, of course. Yi Xian smiled. He said so much before because he didn't want others to find out that he went out. Now that he was back, he didn't need to care. It's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, in a few days, the city lord would have beheaded my family. Shueqingqing said with gratitude. You just said that I am your fiancé. If I don't help you, who will? Yi Xian said. Okay, then I won't be unreasonable. Shueqingqing smiled and continued, that big sister, is she your senior sister? Yi Xian nodded, yes. He knew that Shueqingqing was talking about Guan Yulan. However, it didn't matter whether Guan Yulan was his junior sister or senior sister. In terms of age, Guan Yulan was older than him. But in terms of strength, he was much stronger than her. How long have I been in the Shattering Clouds sect and I already know such a beautiful senior sister? Didn't I say not to attract bees and butterflies? Shueqingqing wrinkled her nose with dissatisfaction. I didn't. Yi Xian rolled his eyes. He didn't want to get involved, but what could he do when Guan Yulan threw herself at him? However, in the next moment, he was also stunned. I'll forgive you this time. Don't do it again. Shueqingqing suddenly compromised. Damn, is this a tacit agreement? Yi Xian was a little helpless. At this moment, the curtain of the carriage was pulled open and a white figure came in. It was Guan Yulan. When Guan Yulan saw Shueqingqing enter the carriage, she knew that Yi Xian had returned. She carefully looked at Yi Xian and made sure that he wasn't injured before she let out a sigh of relief. However, what made Yi Xian even more helpless was that the two girls actually started chatting. The more they talked, the more excited they became. They completely ignored Yi Xian. As for the Howling Moon Silver Wolf Cub, Qingyu, it quietly laid beside Yi Xian with a helpless expression. Because they were traveling by carriage, the Shui family's fleet wasn't very fast. They only arrived at Lianyan City after about a week. At this moment, Yi Xian brought them to the Yi family and contacted the Lin family to hold a meeting. Although Lianyan City was only a small city, the three great families were confident that they could develop it into a big city. As long as it flourished to a certain extent, it could be promoted to a big city. At that time, they could appoint a city lord. Yi Xian also returned the 200 million taels of silver to the Shui family. Although the Shui family's business was gone, Shui Hai was a businessman. He knew many people. As long as they had the funds, it wouldn't be difficult for them to make a comeback. Yi Xian didn't take out the martial arts from the Shattering Clouds sect. After all, he still had his principles. As for the martial arts he obtained, he took out a few copies of them and sent them to the three great families. It was almost the new year and Yi Xian wasn't in a hurry to return to the Shattering Clouds sect. Guan Yulan also didn't have anything to do, so she agreed to Yi Xian to stay in the Yi family for the new year. Chapter 104. It was the same for a large clan like the Yi clan. However, there were many of them. They set up a banquet in the martial arts field. Regardless of whether they had the surname Yi or not, they all celebrated together. However, on this festive day, something big happened in the Yi clan. Suddenly, a person barged into the Yi family. After killing a few Yi family guards, he suddenly died. Hearing this, Yi Zhang hurriedly brought people over. However, when he saw the dead person, his face turned pale. He hurriedly returned to the martial arts field and called Yi Xian over. Yi Xian did not know about this. However, when he saw the dead person, he was completely shocked. This person was wearing the Shattering Cloud sect's uniform. Moreover, it was an elder's uniform. Who is it? Yi Xian turned the elder over and exclaimed, "Elder Lu?" The person who suddenly broke into the Yi clan and started a massacre was actually Lu Buping's grandfather, Elder Lu Qi. Instantly, Yi Xian understood the ins and outs of the situation. That day, we went to the Blackwater Lake together. We might have been seen by a bandit. This Lu Qi found out about this. However, I lied to him. Therefore, he thought that I had something to do with Lu Buping's death. Therefore, he came to take revenge. However, how did he die? Yi Xian began to investigate the cause of death. When he opened Elder Lu's clothes, he was shocked to find that Elder Lu's entire left chest had collapsed. He was killed by a punch. Elder Lu was a martial artist in the middle of the 10th realm of the martial path. To be able to kill him with one punch, I'm afraid that the person is at the peak of the 10th realm of the martial path. However, Yi Xian did not understand. However, when he saw the corpses of the Yi clan guards, a possibility flashed through his mind. The last time they went to destroy the Qin clan, the Lianyan city lord sent 2 teams of city guards to the Yi and Lin clans. The Lin clan had Lin Xiao, but the Yi clan did not have any experts. However, the Yi clan was fine at that time. At that time, they thought that it was a passing expert who saved them. However, it seemed that this matter was still a little strange. Could it be that someone is secretly protecting my Yi family? A thought flashed through Yi Xian's mind. This possibility was indeed there, and it was very high. Otherwise, why would Lu Qi die here? Uncle, this person is only wearing the clothes of an elder of the Shattering Cloud sect. However, this matter is of great importance. You must remember not to spread this news, Yi Xian hastily said to Yi Zhang. I understand. Yi Zhang explained clearly. Fortunately, only 3 guards and 2 servants knew about this matter. Immediately, he ordered the servants to bury these guards who had died in the line of duty. He also ordered them to remove Lu Qi's clothes and burn them. Although Yi Xian did not know who that expert was, nor did he know why he wanted to protect the Yi family, he had a faint guess in his heart that this expert might be related to his father, who had left home for many years. A murder during the new year was not a good sign, but there was nothing they could do about it. Fortunately, Lu Qi was killed by a mysterious expert. Otherwise, even Yi Xian would not be able to stop him if he behaved atrociously in the Yi family. Although this little episode was a little frightening, fortunately, it had been dealt with. Not many people knew about it. Even Guan Yulan was kept in the dark. Yi Xian only needed to pretend that he did not know anything. After the new year, Yi Xian stayed in Lianyan City for a few days. Then, he prepared to report back to the Shattering Cloud sect with Guan Yulan. This time, he was going to report to Zhou in the Shattering Cloud sect. Then, he would go to South Forest City to find Ouyang Ming. At this time, Yi Xian had already set off with Guan Yulan. The target has left the city. Follow. Although Qin Yu's growth was very fast and had grown to the size of a big yellow dog in less than a month, its strength could be considered a rank 3 monster. However, its size was not enough for Guan Yulan to ride. Therefore, Yi Xian and Guan Yulan still had to ride back to the Shattering Cloud sect. However, what they did not know was that there was a team following closely behind. This team was very cautious. Even Yi Xian did not notice them. However, when Yi Xian arrived at the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, he finally noticed this team. However, they were already charging towards him. As soon as Yi Xian entered the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, he felt that something was wrong. He turned his head and saw a team rushing towards him. There were a total of 6 people in this team. However, they were very fast. They were at least martial arts level 9 martial artists. They don't come with good intentions. Yi Xian reacted instantly. He immediately jumped off his horse with a cautious look on his face. He was not 100% sure that these 6 people were coming for him. Therefore, he could not attack first. Guan Yulan also noticed this and lightly landed on the ground. Not only that, but even Qin Yu let out a low growl. It clearly felt the hostility. The 6 people rushed over quickly and finally stopped about 20 meters in front of Yi Xian. The leader was a middle-aged man. He looked at Yi Xian and smiled coldly. "What's the matter?" Yi Xian looked at the 6 people and asked curiously. "You know that we're here for you. How dare you stop?" The middle-aged man looked at Yi Xian and said. "Why wouldn't I?" Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. "If that's the case, then we won't waste time. The 6 of us have been following you all the way from Lianyan City. Our goal is to kill you." The middle-aged man revealed his intentions. As expected. Hearing this, Yi Xian's heart trembled. These 6 people did not come with good intentions. He was already prepared for battle. However, he still asked curiously, "Who are you?" "You crippled my young master." When the middle-aged man finished speaking, Yi Xian instantly reacted. "So they were here to avenge Fan Yu. So you're from the sky-cracking sect?" Yi Xian snorted. "No, we're from South Forest City, the Fan family." The middle-aged man shook his head. This answer also stunned Yi Xian for a moment. These people were actually from South Forest City. "So you're from Fan Yu's family?" Yi Xian's face darkened. This was because the Fan family was actually from South Forest City. South Forest City was the county city of South Forest region. It was the place where the second-rank prince of South Forest lived. Its prosperity exceeded that of ordinary big cities. The families in it were also incomparable to the Yi family. "All right, kid. Since you know who I am, then you should go." After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he glanced at Yi Xian and continued, "Act according to the plan." The reason why they chose to act here was because there were often killings and robberies here. After killing Yi Xian, they just had to throw his body into the wild to feed the demonic beasts. That way, no one would be able to find any evidence and they did not have to worry about being discovered by the sky-cracking sect. Yi Xian looked at the 6 people who were at daggers drawn. The spiritual energy in his body began to surge. He suddenly felt that the middle-aged man in front of him was not simple. He was afraid that the middle-aged man in front of him was a martial artist in the 10th realm of the martial path. However, he did not know what realm he was in. Chapter 105. Kill. At the middle-aged man's command, the 5 people behind him rushed out and attacked Yi Xian from both sides. "Yulan, you go first," Yi Xian said hurriedly. Guan Yulan was conflicted. She wasn't strong and would only be a burden if she stayed. Therefore, she nodded slightly and left with Qin Yu. At the same time, Yi Xian took out the cloud-piercing bow from the devouring space and shot an attack. What? The 6 people were stunned as a word flashed through their minds. An interspatial ring. Immediately, the 6 of them revealed greedy expressions. However, 2 of them were suddenly hit in the head by 2 streams of energy. Their heads exploded and they died on the spot. Peak 9th realm? That's impossible. The middle-aged man exclaimed in shock. When Yi Xian crippled Yi Xian, he was only in the early 9th realm of the martial path. Therefore, the Fan family sent 5 experts in the early 9th realm to kill Yi Xian. However, the higher-ups of the Fan family sent another martial artist in the 10th realm just to be safe. That was the middle-aged man. They didn't expect that Yi Xian's cultivation would suddenly increase by 2 realms. If it were the original 5, they wouldn't have been able to do anything to Yi Xian. Fortunately, they sent another martial artist in the 10th realm. What a strong talent. You can't be allowed to live. The middle-aged man shouted, "You guys go and capture that girl. I'll deal with this brat." He sneered in his heart. Yi Xian had an interspatial ring. As long as he killed Yi Xian, the interspatial ring would be his and he wouldn't have to stay in the Fan family anymore. However, the remaining 3 martial artists in the early 9th realm were unmoved. They charged straight at Yi Xian. They couldn't resist the temptation of the interspatial ring. However, Yi Xian didn't show the slightest bit of mercy towards these 3 people who overestimated themselves. Pooh! 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 Dozens of light arrows shot out and instantly sank into the foreheads of the 3 people. These 3 people were instantly killed just like the previous 2 people. Now that Yi Xian was at the peak of the 9th stage of the martial path, he could draw the golden eagle bow to its fullest. Only a 10th stage martial path cultivator would be able to dodge his attack. As for those 5 people, they were only at the 9th stage of the martial path. They were killed before they could even react. Damn it! The middle-aged man snorted coldly in his heart. How dare you try to snatch my interspatial ring? You are really courting death. However, these 5 people had also bought him some time. At this moment, he had already rushed to Yi Xian's side and punched out. After dealing with the 5 small fries, Yi Xian instantly put his golden eagle bow into his devour space and counterattacked. Boom! The shockwaves from the collision of spiritual energy spread out like waves. The 2 of them exchanged a punch, but neither of them had the upper hand. How is that possible? The 2 of them exclaimed in shock. Yi Xian estimated that his punch was much stronger than that of an early 10th stage martial path cultivator. However, his opponent was actually able to fight evenly with him. This person's physique is so strong. I'm afraid he has tempered his physique. Yi Xian reacted. He was using a 9th grade martial art, and his opponent was also using a 9th grade martial art. In terms of spiritual energy, he was 1 realm lower, but his strongest attribute was his physique. The fact that his opponent was able to close the gap was enough to prove that he had tempered his physique. The middle-aged man was extremely shocked, but he did not think too much about it. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind, which was to kill Yi Xian, seize his interspatial ring, and then leave Nanlin County. However, he was also a tempered martial artist. When he saw someone who could be compared to him, he naturally wanted to fight to his heart's content. Boom! 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 This area was instantly swept up by a sandstorm, and loud rumbles continued. In these 10 seconds, Yi Xian and the middle-aged man had exchanged no less than 100 punches. The ground was bombarded by them, as if it was hit by meteorites. This kid is really difficult to deal with, but the middle-aged man also realized how strong Yi Xian was, but his eyes flashed. Through Yi Xian's body, he saw Guan Yulan, who was watching from a distance. Capture her and threaten this kid. The middle-aged man immediately had a plan in his mind. Yi Xian was a little surprised when he saw the middle-aged man retreating. However, he followed the middle-aged man's gaze and found Guan Yulan. Oh no, he wants to use Yulan to threaten me. Yi Xian instantly saw through his opponent's intentions. At this moment, the middle-aged man began to run towards Guan Yulan. What a joke. I've never been afraid of anyone when it comes to speed. Yi Xian burst into full speed and caught up with the middle-aged man in an instant. He aimed a punch at the middle-aged man's back. So fast. The middle-aged man's heart trembled. He knew that Yi Xian's physique was amazing, but he did not expect it to be this fast. Before he could finish his sentence, he was hit by Yi Xian's punch. Just now, Yi Xian saw that there was only one person left, so he wanted to have a good fight with him. However, he did not expect that the middle-aged man would have designs on Guan Yulan. This was unforgivable. I wanted to let you live a little longer, but I didn't expect you to court death yourself. You can't blame me for this. A dragon has a reverse scale, and those who touch it will be enraged. Without a doubt, Yi Xian was enraged. After the middle-aged man took Yi Xian's punch, he instantly fell into a disadvantageous position. The latter's powerful punches landed on his body crazily, causing him to scream in pain. I'll use this move to end you, heart-shattering palm. Yi Xian's body suddenly surged with a large amount of spiritual energy, which gathered in his palm. Then, he quickly and accurately hit the middle-aged man's heart. Bang! In an instant, the dense spiritual energy rushed into the middle-aged man's body and tore his heart apart. Gurgle gurgle, the middle-aged man's eyes widened as he spat out a large amount of blood. With the heart torn apart, even a true spirit realm expert would not be able to survive. Humph, looking at the corpse in front of him, Yi Xian coldly snorted. This fan family was really generous, to be able to summon so many experts all of a sudden. If it wasn't for the fact that his strength was no longer the same as before, the outcome would have been hard to say. Unfortunately, these people came out on a mission and did not bring anything good with them. Therefore, Yi Xian's spoils were not much, only about 1,000,000 taels. As for the 6 corpses, Yi Xian simply threw them in the wilderness. If there were any demonic beasts passing by, they would definitely not miss them. After dealing with these 6 people, Yi Xian and Guan Yulan continued on their way. They only stopped to rest when night fell. Guan Yulan looked at Yi Xian and finally could not help but ask, after returning to the sect, "Are you going to South Forest City?" "Yes." Yi Xian nodded. Chapter 106. Then be careful. Guan Yulan reminded him. Suddenly, she felt a little uneasy. She felt that if she was separated from Yi Xian this time, it wouldn't be so easy to see him again. "Don't worry. After a while, I think I'll be able to break through to the 10th stage of the martial path. When that time comes, this competition will be a piece of cake," Yi Xian said confidently. Guan Yulan nodded silently. Yi Xian's aptitude was probably unmatched in the entire Nanlin region. The two of them were silent for a while. Guan Yulan pursed her lips and secretly glanced at Yi Xian. She stammered, "Yi Xian, I have something to say to you." Ever since the last incident, Guan Yulan had a special feeling for Yi Xian. She had always hidden it in her heart. But for some reason, when she heard that Yi Xian was going to participate in the imperial capital competition, she felt that if she didn't say it now, it would be too late. Yi Xian raised his head. When he saw Guan Yulan's expression, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. Damn, is this girl going to confess to me? I'm not ready yet. In his previous life, Yi Xian was still an out-and-out otaku. Goddesses and whatnot were far away from him. But now, a goddess-level girl was confessing to him. He suddenly felt a little uneasy. However, he still forced himself to be calm and said coldly, "What?" The light of the fire shone on Guan Yulan's rosy face. Her bashful appearance made Yi Xian a little unable to control himself. Guan Yulan hesitated for a while before finally opening her mouth. Hiss. Roar. However, at this moment, a voice suddenly fell into their ears. Beside them, Qing Yu immediately let out a low roar when she heard it. There was movement. Damn, who's disturbing my good time? Do you believe that I won't kill you? Yi Xian suddenly shouted in his heart. After a while, he might be able to live a happy life. Who knew that someone would disturb him? Who? Yi Xian stood up angrily and shouted. He swore in his heart that if it was a human that came, he would beat that human into a pig's head. If it was a demonic beast, he would beat it into a pig demon. But in the next moment, his expression froze. This sound started to flutter, and it was getting closer and closer. So fast. Yi Xian was shocked. By the time he reacted, a figure had appeared in front of him. It was a person. Yi Xian's face was full of vigilance. He looked at the figure more than 10 meters in front of him and shouted, "Sir, what do you want?" "Don't be nervous, it's me." This figure suddenly walked out from the darkness. When Yi Xian saw this person's face, his body trembled slightly. Wasn't this his master? "Master, why are you here?" Yi Xian relaxed and asked in surprise. Guan Yulan was also very surprised. How did Zhou Tsang find them? I suddenly heard that Fan Yu's background is not as simple as being the first disciple of the sky-cracking sect. He is from the Fan family of South Forest City. I was worried that the Fan family would make a move on you, so I came down the mountain to find you. Zhou saw that Yi Xian was fine and also let out a sigh of relief. Master, don't worry. Your disciple won't die so easily. Yi Xian pretended to be surprised. He didn't know why, but his heart had been beating violently since Zhou appeared, as if something big was about to happen. That's good. Zhou nodded and then walked to Yi Xian's side. But in the next moment, his cliff-like wrinkles trembled and he said in shock, "Peak of the 9th stage of the martial path?" As expected of someone who is half a step into the true spirit realm. Yi Xian was secretly impressed and nodded, "Yes, master. Your disciple went down the mountain to do a training mission. By chance, I had a fortuitous encounter and broke through to the peak of the 9th stage of the martial path." Zhou was so shocked that his eyes widened and his mouth opened so wide that an egg could be stuffed in. In just a short month, Yi Xian actually broke through to the peak of the 9th stage of the martial path. This was definitely unprecedented. Not only was Yi Xian's aptitude high, but his luck was also very good. However, he didn't ask too much. Instead, he looked at Yi Xian with a strange expression. "Good, this is really good." Zhou was so excited that he couldn't speak. Although Yi Xian felt that it was strange, he didn't think too much about it. Since he met Zhou here, it meant that he didn't need to return to the Shattering Cloud sect and could directly go to South Forest City. He immediately told Zhou about Ouyang Ming's matter. What, the Imperial Patrol? After Zhou heard the story, he was shocked because Yi Xian had given him too many surprises. Yes, this disciple returned to the Shattering Cloud sect this time to inform you that this disciple wishes to participate in the Imperial Capital Tournament. Yi Xian nodded. Zhou hesitated for a moment and said, "That's fine, but this time, I came down the mountain to find you for another matter. Come with me to a place first, then we'll leave." "Why are you looking for me?" Yi Xian frowned and asked curiously, "What is it?" "You'll know when you get there. This way, we'll leave immediately," Zhou said to Guan Yulan. "So urgent?" Yi Xian asked. Zhou explained, "The Imperial Patrol has a noble status. You can't be negligent. I've also heard of this tournament. It will be a very good stage, so you must prepare properly." "All right." Yi Xian nodded. The scale of this tournament was very large. After all, there were many influential people in the profound Sun Imperial capital. Their subordinates' aptitude might not be as good as his, but he didn't have an advantage in terms of age. "Yulan, you can go back to the Shattering Cloud sect by yourself," Zhou suddenly said to Guan Yulan. Although she was very unwilling, Guan Yulan could only nod slightly. Who told Zhou to appear at such a crucial time? Therefore, she could only wait for Yi Xian to come back and say what she had been hiding in her heart. "All right, let's go." Zhou seemed to be a little impatient and hurriedly said. Yi Xian was also very helpless. Zhou could have come at any time, but he just had to appear now. What a pity, in a while, he might be able to leave the ranks of the single dogs. Then, he followed Zhou and left. The Fan family had already sent a large number of experts. It was obvious that they were determined to win, so Yi Xian wasn't worried about Guan Yulan's safety and left with Zhou. The confused Yi Xian followed Zhou and left. They were very fast. It only took them one night to leave through the shortcut of the 9th mountain range. Then, Zhou brought Yi Xian in another direction. Along the way, Zhou asked Yi Xian a few things, mostly about Ouyang Ming and the tournament in the imperial capital. Chapter 107. A day later, they finally arrived at their destination. It was a rather desolate mountain, the kind where even demonic beasts wouldn't roam. After arriving, Zhou brought Yi Xian directly to a small house at the top of the mountain. Before Yi Xian could ask, Zhou pointed to a large bathtub in the house and said, "Come, jump in." "What?" Yi Xian looked at Zhou in astonishment, then glanced at the large bathtub. He saw that the large bathtub was already filled with liquid, but it was red. Before he could open his mouth, a strong smell of blood drifted over, causing him to frown uncontrollably. The smell of blood reminded him of the scene in the Valley of Corpses. This is a medicinal liquid that I personally concocted for you. It contains the blood of 100 different demonic beasts and a large amount of supplementary herbs. As long as you soak in it for a day, your physique will be greatly improved and it can even unblock your meridians. It will be beneficial for your future cultivation. Zhou Tsang explained. Oh. After hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. The blood of demonic beasts could strengthen his physique and unblock his meridians? Holy shit, this is good stuff. He immediately looked at Zhou Tsang with tears of gratitude. He didn't doubt Zhou Tsang at all. After all, Zhou Tsang was his master. Yi Xian had heard of disciples murdering their masters, but he had never heard of a master harming a disciple. Furthermore, he didn't have anything that Zhou Tsang coveted, so Zhou Tsang had no reason to harm him. At that moment, Yi Xian directly jumped into the large bathtub without even taking off his clothes. But in the next moment, his expression changed. He realized that the truth was not what he had imagined. Ding! The host has been poisoned. Detoxification commencing. When Yi Xian jumped into the bathtub, this sentence rang out in his mind. The 100-flower bloodline could make Yi Xian immune to 100 types of poison, but that was only limited to 100 types of poison. If it was a high-grade poison, the 100-flower bloodline could only slowly detoxify it. What made Yi Xian's face turn pale was that after he jumped into the bathtub, he couldn't move his entire body. Only his head, which was above the water, could move. Master, why can't I move my body? Yi Xian asked in shock. Don't be afraid. This medicinal liquid contains the sap of the 1,000 silver flower. It can numb your body temporarily. Zhou Tsang couldn't help but laugh when he saw Yi Xian's expression. 1,000 silver flower? Yi Xian quickly searched his mind but couldn't find any relevant memories. Previously, when he was in the Shattering Clouds sect, he would look at some maps when he was bored. Among them, there were records of heavenly treasures so that he wouldn't be unable to recognize them when he encountered them in the future. However, he had never heard of this 1,000 silver flower. At this moment, his entire body was submerged in the water. Apart from his head, he could not feel anything. It was as if he only had a head. It seemed that the effect of the 1,000 silver flower was very strong. Even the 100-flower bloodline was not immune to it. He could only slowly detoxify it. No, something's wrong. He has other intentions. Yi Xian recalled Zhou Tsang's expression and began to suspect something. However, he wasn't too worried because the devouring system could devour anything. Even if his body couldn't move, as long as his hands were still in the water, he could devour the entire bathtub. Furthermore, even if the effect of the 1,000 silver flower was very strong, the 100-flower bloodline had already started to detoxify it. Before Yi Xian purchased the 100-flower bloodline, he only knew that it had two effects. One was to increase one's recovery ability and the other was to make one immune to poison. However, after Yi Xian purchased the 100-flower bloodline, he discovered that it had a hidden effect. It would automatically detoxify the poison after being poisoned. The stronger the poison, the slower the detoxification process. However, as long as one was poisoned once and successfully detoxified the poison, one's body would develop a resistance to it. Even if one were to encounter the same poison in the future, they wouldn't be poisoned again. This was something that Yi Xian only found out after purchasing the 100-flower bloodline, so he wasn't worried. Master, your disciple suddenly needs to pee, Yi Xian suddenly shouted. Nonsense. You can't feel anything in your body. How can you feel that way? I spent a lot of effort to concoct this medicinal liquid. You stay here, Master will go out for a while. Zhou Tsang snorted coldly, then left Yi Xian behind. He was very confident in the medicinal liquid that he had concocted. He really left. Yi Xian heard the sound of footsteps fading into the distance. Zhou Tsang really left. At this moment, his heart was filled with mixed feelings. He felt that his master, whom he had only met a few times, had an ulterior motive. However, what was his master after? Could it be that he saw me devouring something by chance and thought that I had an interspatial ring? Yi Xian guessed in his heart. Although this was possible, someone who casually gave him 30,000 shattering cloud sect points shouldn't be after this. No matter what his motive is, I can't just sit here and wait for death. Enter the devouring space. Yi Xian thought. Then, the entire bathtub, along with the turbid liquid inside, suddenly disappeared. Then, his entire body went limp on the floor. The 1,000 silver flowers' anesthetic effect was still there, but after Yi Xian came out, he clearly felt that the detoxification effect had improved significantly. At this rate, it should be gone in 10 minutes. Yi Xian calculated in his heart. He prayed that Zhou wouldn't come back in this period of time. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to explain. However, his worries were unnecessary. After 10 minutes, he was finally able to move his body. However, after regaining his mobility, he didn't immediately escape. Instead, he took out the tub of medicinal liquid and entered it again. As expected, that 1,000 silver flower has no effect on me. Yi Xian stretched his hand into the air and laughed loudly. The 100-flower bloodline had already detoxified the poison. At the same time, his poison resistance had also increased. From now on, poisons like this would no longer be effective on him. However, just as Yi Xian was thinking about whether or not to escape, a series of footsteps suddenly came from outside. F***CK, he's back. Yi Xian's heart trembled. He quickly stretched his hand down and returned to his previous posture. Clang! The wooden door was pushed open. The person who came in was indeed Zhou, who had just left. Disciple, master is back. Zhou looked at Yi Xian with a smile. Now, your physique is probably quietly changing. Do you feel it? Yi Xian was stunned. He quickly nodded and said, yes, there's a change. Nonsense, you still don't feel it. How can you feel it? However, this medicinal liquid was specially prepared by me. It can greatly improve your physique, but it will take about a day to completely absorb it. Zhou smiled. Chapter 108. It's actually true. This medicinal liquid can actually improve my physique and unblock my meridians. Yi Xian was shocked. At this time, he was a little suspicious. Did Zhou have any ulterior motives towards him? Take your time. Before you finish absorbing, Master will recommend someone to you. After Zhou finished speaking, under Yi Xian's astonished gaze, he walked out of the wooden house, grabbed a person, and threw it in front of Yi Xian. This person wore a green robe and was around 18 years old. However, his entire body was cold and white, and there was no sign of life. Master, who is this? Yi Xian looked at the corpse's face and asked in astonishment. I think you should have heard of his name. His name is Zhongyang. Zhou replied. Zhongyang. Yi Xian was indeed very familiar with this name because this person was the #1 inner disciple of the Shattering Cloud sect. What? Zhongyang? How could it be him? Yi Xian exclaimed. Zhou smiled and said, it was Master who killed him. This answer also made Yi Xian's face stiffen. Zhou killed Zhongyang? Why? Do you find it inconceivable? As the vice sect master of the Shattering Cloud sect, why would I kill the #1 inner disciple, Zhongyang? Zhou smiled indifferently and asked in return, do you know how old Master is this year? Yi Xian shook his head. Zhou face was very old. He looked to be around 70 years old. Master is actually 90 years old this year. Master didn't suffer any serious injuries in his early years, so he was able to live until now. However, I can already feel that I don't have 2 more years to live unless I can break through to the true spirit realm. Zhou laughed self-deprecatingly. However, with my aptitude, I'm afraid it will be difficult to break through to the true spirit realm. However, I don't want to die, so I began to cultivate an evil cultivation method that I once obtained. Yi Xian listened quietly, his eyes flashing. He already knew what Zhou wanted to do. When this evil cultivation technique is cultivated to the extreme, one can seize another person's body. I'm already old, so I grabbed Zhongyang and began to prepare. Originally, the best candidate in my heart was Fan Yu. However, Fan Yu stayed in the heaven-cracking sect all year round, so I couldn't do anything to him. But then, you suddenly appeared. Although you are young, your talent far surpasses Fan Yu's. So, you are the target of my possession. After hearing Zhou words, Yi Xian's face sank. He had already guessed Zhou intentions, but he didn't expect it to be his body. Possession. Damn, such a terrifying thing was going to happen to him twice? A 16-year-old peak LV9 martial path realm. If I get your body, I can break through to the true spirit realm before the age of 30, no, before the age of 25. In the future, I can even aim for the true energy realm, or even the true profound realm. Zhou couldn't help but laugh. Yi Xian's face darkened. It seemed that things were going to be troublesome. Someone was actually plotting to seize his body. This wasn't going according to the script. In his fantasy, after Zhou saw his aptitude, he would do his best to help him and throw all his wealth on him to help him break through. But he didn't expect the reality to be the complete opposite. Is it really possible to seize another person's body? Yi Xian asked in surprise. He wasn't very sure because this body was exactly the same as his body on Earth. Even the mole was in the same position. So, he wasn't sure if his body was transmigrated or if the unlucky guy's body was exactly the same as his. I'm not very sure because I haven't heard of such cases. But I can only live for 2 more years. I have no choice but to stake everything on this. If I fail, I'll just die earlier. Zhou shook his head and sighed. If it was an ordinary person, they would probably treat you like a treasure and nurture you. However, I can't do anything about it. Yi Xian, don't blame your master. Blame? If I could beat you now, I would have killed you long ago. How dare you covet your own disciple's body? F*CKU. Yi Xian cursed in his heart. I've already entrusted the matters of the Shattering Cloud sect to the various elders. If I fail, then you'll be the vice sect leader. If I succeed, then I'll lead the Shattering Cloud sect to glory. Zhou said, then asked, Disciple, don't worry. If I succeed, I'll definitely treat your Yi family and Yulan well. Hee, if you have any last wishes, you can tell me. I'll definitely do it for you. Hearing this, the veins on Yi Xian's forehead popped out. This Zhou was indeed a beast with a human face. Just a moment ago, he looked helpless, but now his true colors were revealed. He was already in his 90s, but he was still thinking about Guan Yulan. It seems that I can't let the tiger return to the mountain. You damn old man, I must send you to see Buddha. Yi Xian's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Master, your disciple only has one last wish. I hope you can do it for me. Don't worry, I'll definitely do it. F*CKU. The smile on Zhou face disappeared in an instant, but it soon reappeared. Hee, don't worry. This 1,000 silver flower can paralyze you for 2 days. Tomorrow, I'll begin the possession. After he finished speaking, he kicked Zhong Yang's corpse out of the wooden house. Then, he sat in front of Yi Xian and closed his eyes. Damn, this old man is at the peak of the 10th rank of the martial path. With my current realm, if I were to fight him one-on-one, my balls would definitely be crushed by him. So, I can only find an opportunity to sneak attack him. Yi Xian looked at Zhou, who wasn't vigilant at all, and thought to himself. Although he could now challenge those of a higher realm, the difference in strength between him and Zhou was too big. He was afraid that he wouldn't be Zhou's opponent. However, there was still a way to improve his strength, and that was this barrel of medicinal liquid. His physique was indeed improving, and the impurities in his meridians were also disappearing bit by bit. So, he wanted to sneak attack Zhou one day later, when Zhou was about to possess him. This Zhou didn't seem to be on guard at all. If the sneak attack was right, he might be able to kill him in an instant. Even if it wasn't, he would still be able to heavily injure him. Thus, he still had a high chance of winning. After all, Zhou Tsang would never have thought that he had already removed the numbing effect of the 1,000 silver flower. Even if I devour the golden eagle bough, I'm afraid that it won't let me break through to the 10th rank of the martial path. Could it be that I can only use the points to raise my wind-chasing leopard bloodline to the intermediate rank, then immediately escape after the sneak attack? No, my level isn't high enough. If I forcefully raise my wind-chasing leopard bloodline, there will be a danger of my body exploding. It's better to be conservative. Yi Xian thought in his heart. At this time, he suddenly thought of the reason why Zhou Tsang was so calm. Wasn't it because of this barrel of medicinal liquid? 2 rays of light shot out from Yi Xian's eyes. He'd already thought of a countermeasure. Chapter 109. However, Zhou Tsang was at the peak of the 10th stage of the martial path. Even if Yi Xian had broken through to the 10th stage of the martial path, his chances of winning were slim. Therefore, he chose to absorb the essence of the medicinal liquid to strengthen his physique. Then, he would launch a sneak attack on Zhou Tsang. Alright, let's do that. You old geezer, since you're interested in my body, I'll kill you. Yi Xian snorted inwardly. Time passed little by little. Although Zhou Tsang was cultivating with his eyes closed, Yi Xian felt that this wasn't a good time to attack. A martial artist at the peak of the 10th stage of the martial path had extremely fast reflexes. His sneak attack might fail, so it was better to wait until the time of possession. Soon, a day had passed. During this time, Yi Xian sat quietly in the bathtub, not moving at all. His butt was about to grow hemorrhoids. However, it wasn't like he didn't gain anything. After a day in the bathtub, his physique had improved by at least 30%. Right now, he was very confident that he could fight a martial artist at the middle of the 10th stage of the martial path. At this time, Zhou Tsang suddenly opened his eyes. I've absorbed most of the medicinal liquid's essence. My disciple, are you mentally prepared? Zhou Tsang stood up and said. Yi Xian snorted. Old geezer, I have a feeling that you're dead meat this time. However, Zhou Tsang misunderstood this sentence. He thought that Yi Xian was referring to his failure to possess Zhou Tsang. If I fail, then that's my fate. If I succeed, then I'll replace you and become the strongest of my generation. Zhou Tsang walked in front of Yi Xian and suddenly stretched out 2 withered hands. With my strength, it's easy to subdue you. However, do you know why I used the 1,000 silver flower to paralyze your entire body? Because next, my fingers will pierce your temples and make contact with your brain. What? After hearing this, Yi Xian's scalp went numb. This evil technique actually had to do this during possession? When Yi Xian thought about his temples being pierced, he wanted to directly kill this old geezer. Alright, just accept your fate. Zhou Tsang stretched out his hand, preparing to tap Yi Xian's temple. Yi Xian was scared half to death. He hurriedly said, wait. If you have any last words, just say them. Zhou Tsang's hands suddenly stopped. CK your grandfather. Yi Xian roared and suddenly stood up. With lightning speed, he blasted out a palm strike, accurately hitting Zhou Tsang's heart. Bang! This palm was a rank 10 martial art from the Shattering Cloud sect, the heart-shattering palm. That dense spiritual energy directly entered Zhou Tsang's body and mercilessly tore at his heart. However, the latter was still at the peak of the 10th stage of the martial path. His spiritual energy was an entire realm higher than Yi Xian's, so Yi Xian's palm was not enough to kill him. What? Zhou Tsang's eyes widened. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and used his spiritual energy to block some of it. Otherwise, this palm strike would have been enough to tear his heart apart. He could not understand how Yi Xian, who was soaking in the wooden tub, could suddenly stand up and attack him, almost killing him. He's not dead? Yi Xian was stunned. Then, his eyes flashed. He swept out his hand and directly splashed the turbid medicinal liquid on Zhou Tsang's face. Although the essence of the medicinal liquid had been absorbed by Yi Xian, the thousand silver flowers effect was still present. When the pool of blood splashed onto Zhou Tsang's face, it immediately numbed his face. Not good. Zhou Tsang's face was numbed, but his brain could still move. Just as he was about to make a move, he saw a sea of red covering the sky and earth. Pa! Zhou Tsang was drenched in blood. It was Yi Xian who had poured the entire tub of medicinal liquid on him. This time, his entire body was numb. The thousand silver flower was an extremely precious treasure of heaven and earth. It was not something that an ordinary person could obtain. Even experts of the true spirit realm would be affected by it, and Zhou Tsang was not yet at the true spirit realm, so he could not resist it. Huh, old man, you didn't expect this, did you? I said you would die. A long sword suddenly appeared in Yi Xian's hand. With a sweep, Zhou Tsang's head flew up. Zhou Tsang, dead. Plop. The stiff head fell to the ground and blood splashed onto the ceiling. Blood was still spurting from the neck. It was a ghastly sight. After seeing the Valley of 10,000 Corpses, Yi Xian was no longer surprised by such a scene. However, this time, there was no danger. Fortunately, Zhou Tsang was a martial artist at the peak of the 10th stage of the martial path. If he was an expert of the true spirit realm, Yi Xian's spiritual energy would have been instantly dispersed by the true spirit realm. Old man, you dare to have ideas about my body? You really don't want to live anymore. When you go to hell, remember to send my regards to your grandfather. Yi Xian coldly snorted. Although he had obtained a lot of benefits from Zhou Tsang, he would definitely not show mercy to this person who had a human face but a beast heart. However, it was a pity that this tub of medicinal liquid was wasted. In Yi Xian's imagination, the thousand silver flower might be a kind of spiritual grass that was very precious. If he collected it, it might be useful in the future. However, Yi Xian did not think so much at that time and threw the entire tub, causing it to seep into the ground. Then Yi Xian searched for a bit, but did not find anything good on Zhou Tsang's body. There was nothing nearby either. It seemed that the good things were hidden in other places, and not in the Shattering Cloud sect. In desperation, Yi Xian could only bury Zhou Tsang and Zhong Yang's bodies and then leave this place. Zhou Tsang did not have an interspatial ring, so I don't know where to hide the good things. Even if I return to the Shattering Cloud sect, I won't be able to find anything. I'd better go directly to South Forest City. Yi Xian thought and headed in a certain direction. He was very grateful to Zhou Tsang. Although he did not obtain anything good, his physique had improved by 30% because of the tub of medicinal liquid. Now, his speed was extremely fast. He was like a bolt of lightning in the wild. Those warriors could not even see his figure. South Forest City was the largest city in the South Forest region. The South Forest region's second-rank prince lived here. It was said that the second-rank prince was also a true spirit realm expert. The 100 Flowers bloodline improved Yi Xian's recovery ability. He rushed through the night for 4 days and finally arrived at South Forest City. At this time, he had already entered South Forest City and inquired about the location of Ouyang Manor. As the capital of the South Forest region, South Forest City was very prosperous. Even the 1,000 gold city could not be compared to it. On the road to Ouyang Manor, Yi Xian had already felt the aura of many experts on the streets. He could often see 8th realm, 9th realm and even 10th realm martial artists. Ouyang Manor. Yi Xian found Ouyang Manor in South Forest City. There were 2 guards guarding the entrance. Chapter 110. Yi Xian turned his head to look and saw a young man slowly walking towards him under the escort of 4 guards. This young man was dressed gorgeously, and the guards behind him were tall and powerful. They were obviously not ordinary people. Brat, a good dog doesn't block the way. Quickly back off, don't block my young master's path. Before Yi Xian could speak, one of the guards shouted out. This place was very spacious, and Yi Xian was alone. If this sentence was not for him, then who was it for? What arrogance, who am I in the way by standing here? You want me to get out of the way? No way. Yi Xian was too lazy to pay attention to them, and just stood there quietly. At the same time, his gaze fell on the young man in the lead. He found that this young man gave him a sense of déjà vu, as if he had seen him somewhere before. "Bastard, are you deaf? Why don't you get out of the way?" The guard immediately shouted again. "Bastard?" Hearing this, Yi Xian suddenly had a flash of murderous intent. Dragons have reverse scales, and those who touch them will be angry. He was a protective person, and whoever dared to scold his family was really courting death. "If you don't want to die, apologize to me." Yi Xian finally opened his mouth, and his tone was cold. "Apologize?" The guard suddenly laughed. "What a joke, where did you come from? How dare you say that? See if I don't beat you to your knees." As he spoke, he walked towards Yi Xian, ready to slap Yi Xian away. Gotcha. However, when he walked in front of Yi Xian, he suddenly felt a pain in his knee, and then his whole body fell to the ground. What? The guard endured the pain and looked, only to see that his legs were twisted beyond recognition, and both his knees were completely shattered. Bang! Another muffled sound suddenly rang out, and the guard flew out like a football, landing more than 20 meters away. "A mere 9th-level martial artist dares to put on airs in front of me." Yi Xian coldly snorted in his heart. If it weren't for the fact that he was in South Forest City, that guard would have definitely turned into a corpse. This scene also shocked the young man and the other 3 guards. What a fast speed. He's definitely not a good person, the young man thought to himself. Then, he quickly cupped his fists and said, "Sorry, my subordinate's attitude wasn't very good. Thank you for teaching him a lesson." Oh. Yi Xian was a little surprised. He had beaten up this young man's bodyguard, but this young man was not angry at all. He even thanked him for teaching him a lesson. This didn't seem right. Without waiting for Yi Xian to open his mouth, the young man continued, "This humble one is Fan Jin. May I know who this brother is, Yi Xian?" Since the other party had sincerely apologized, Yi Xian did not pursue the matter any further. As for the guard whose kneecap he had broken, he was afraid that he would have to spend the rest of his life in bed. Yi Xian? Where have I heard this name before? Fan Jin thought in his heart and said, "Brother, did you come to the Ouyang Manor to look for Lord Ouyang?" "Yes." Yi Xian nodded. "I know. Brother Yi must be here for the Imperial Capital Tournament. Since that's the case, come in with me." Fan Jin smiled and walked over. Hearing this, Yi Xian instantly understood that this Fan Jin in front of him probably had the same purpose as him. He originally wanted to use the token that Ouyang Ming gave him to enter, but now, there was no need for that because the people in the Ouyang Manor knew this Fan Jin and respectfully greeted him. Under Fan Jin's lead, Yi Xian finally met the patrol inspector of South Forest City, Ouyang Ming. However, at this time, there were still a few figures in the Ouyang Manor's reception hall. After seeing Yi Xian, Ouyang Ming quickly walked over and said, "Oh, Yi Xian, you're finally here. Lord Ouyang, long time no see." Yi Xian respectfully greeted, then looked around and found that the few people in the room were around 20 years old. "Good, it's good that you're here." Ouyang Ming was very happy. Yi Xian smiled, then took out the token from his arms and handed it over. However, when the token appeared, the atmosphere in the room instantly froze. Ouyang Ming was fine with it, but the young men around him, including Fan Jin, froze. Some of them even showed some hostility. "Okay, find a seat first." What a coincidence, the 4 of you actually arrived in South Forest City on the same day. Ouyang Ming said with some surprise. Now, Yi Xian also guessed that the 3 people in the room, including Fan Jin, were probably going to participate in the Imperial Capital Tournament. Including him, there were a total of 5 people. Yi Xian and Fan Jin also found a seat, then, Ouyang Ming said, "Although there is still one person who is not here yet, it's fine. Introduce yourselves first." Lakeheart City's Shang family's disciple, Shang Yuxiang. Beifeng City's Gu family's disciple, Gu Yi. Jade Sword City Xiang family's disciple, Xiang Xiongxin. South Forest City's Fan family's disciple, Fan Jin. After Fan Jin finished speaking, he turned his head and said, Brother Yi, it's your turn. However, at this time, Yi Xian's face did not look so good. He did not expect Fan Jin to be from South Forest City's Fan family. This was really a small world. Previously, he had crippled the Fan family's young master, Fan Yu, and then killed a few of the Fan family's experts. Now, he was sitting together with the Fan family. It was really heaven's will. However, Yi Xian was not afraid. After all, Ouyang Ming was a patrol inspector, much more powerful than the Fan family. He immediately introduced himself, Shattering Cloud Sect's disciple, Yi Xian. Oh. The four of them were surprised. They did not expect that there would be a sect's disciple among them. As for Fan Jin, he finally remembered the name Yi Xian. When Yi Xian finished speaking, he exclaimed, Shattering Cloud Sect's disciple, Yi Xian, you are the one who crippled Fan Yu? Yes, that's me. Yi Xian nodded. Fan Jin's face darkened, but he did not say anything. He only said, oh, and did not say anything else. Ouyang Ming said, I also heard about this matter. Your Fan family's Fan Yu, although his aptitude is not bad, he is much weaker than the rest of you. The four of you are around 20 years old, but you have already broken through to the martial path's 10th stage. As for Yi Xian, he reached the peak of the 9th stage at the age of 16, he is the one with the best aptitude among you. As soon as these words were spoken, Fan Jin and the others immediately looked at Yi Xian in astonishment. 16 years old? The four of them happened to be in the early 10th stage of the martial path. They were the focus of the four great families. Yi Xian was 4 to 5 years younger than them, but he was only one stage lower than them. It was obvious that Yi Xian's aptitude was much better than theirs. Unknowingly, the four of them felt a huge pressure. Chapter 111. Oh, you're here. Ouyang Ming looked at the young man and said, Dang Yang, take a seat. Yi Xian and the other four people watched as the young man took a seat. When he entered, he looked around with disdain and sat down quietly. At the same time, Yi Xian also noticed that Fan Jin's expression was a little strange. He seemed to know Dang Yang. Okay, everyone is here. Ouyang Ming sat at the main seat in the hall and said, I have carefully selected all of you to participate in the Imperial Capital Tournament. However, I will say this first, I only have 3 spots. 3 spots? The 6 people present were also shocked, but Dang Yang looked calm, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. Sir Ouyang, are you saying that 3 of us will be eliminated? Fan Jin asked in astonishment. That's right. Ouyang Ming nodded. The Imperial Capital Tournament is not a child's play. It is extremely dangerous. Even a martial artist at the peak of the 10th stage of the martial path can fall. So, I will have a test next. The 3 people who pass this test will be led by me to the Imperial Capital to participate in the Imperial Capital Tournament. The 6 people in the hall nodded in silence. In the Imperial Capital Tournament, there were only 48 spots for people from the 16 counties. Without Ouyang Ming's recommendation, they would not be able to participate in the Imperial Capital Tournament. Sir Ouyang, what is the test? Fan Jin asked again. Rest for 3 days. I will tell you after 3 days. Ouyang Ming kept them in suspense. Then, he ordered the servants to bring Yi Xian and the others to their respective residences. However, just as Yi Xian stepped into his courtyard, Ouyang Ming came looking for him. After Ouyang Ming entered, he carefully sized up Yi Xian. However, he was a little disappointed because Yi Xian was still at the peak of rank 9. Yi Xian, how have you been? Ouyang Ming asked politely. Master Ouyang, I'm fine. Yi Xian nodded. Ouyang Ming smiled and said, Okay, I just said that I only have 3 spots, and you are only at the peak of the 9th level of the martial path. It won't be that easy to get a spot. Lord Ouyang, sometimes, one's realm isn't everything, Yi Xian said calmly. That's right. One's cultivation level isn't everything. But I have to remind you that Deng Yang is the son of the Southern Forest County King. He is already in the middle of the 10th level of the martial Dao. Ouyang Ming said with a smile. What? The son of the Commandery Prince of Nanlin? Yi Xian was slightly stunned. No wonder Fan Jin looked at Deng Yang strangely. So that was the reason. However, the mid-stage of the 10th rank of the martial path was a problem. After all, the second-rank Duke of the South Forest was an expert of the true spirit realm and had a high status. Therefore, his children were not ordinary people. That Deng Yang might also have a spirit weapon and is in the middle stage of the 10th realm of the martial path. It seems that this spot is in the bag. Yi Xian thought in his heart. Although he was confident in his own strength, he wasn't sure if he could defeat Deng Yang without fighting him. I think he will get this spot. But with your strength, it shouldn't be too much of a problem to get the second spot. Ouyang Ming said with a smile. He was very optimistic about Yi Xian. Lord Ouyang, you flatter me. Although Yi Xian was not vain, he was very happy to hear this. This was the trust in his strength. In these 3 days, have a good rest. You can also go to the South Forest City. If you need anything, you can find me. Ouyang Ming said and was ready to leave. However, after he left, Yi Xian also went out directly. Now, he had to make good use of the 1500 devouring points and strive to maximize the benefits. At that moment, he used 1500 points to exchange for 3 spirit weapon longswords. Yes, spirit weapon. These 3 spirit weapon longswords used up all of Yi Xian's devouring points. He was only left with slightly more than 10 points. What he needed to do next was to sell these 3 spirit weapon longswords or exchange them for heavenly treasures. This was his plan. Then, he wrapped up the 3 spirit weapon longswords. But when he went out, he suddenly bumped into someone. It was Fan Jin of the Fan family. Oh, Brother Yi, are you going out too? Fan Jin asked in surprise. Hearing this, Yi Xian was very confused. This was because he had crippled Fan Yu of the Fan family. Didn't Fan Jin want to take revenge? Brother Yi, Fan Yu is only my younger brother. His talent is worse than mine. It is not worthwhile for me to make enemies with you because of him. Fan Jin said when he saw Yi Xian's strange expression. Is that so? Yi Xian's expression turned serious. Not only did he cripple Fan Yu, but he also killed a few experts of the Fan family. If the Fan family found out, they would not let this matter rest. Yes, I obtained a few weapons during my previous experience. I want to sell them. Yi Xian nodded. Fan Jin was stunned. His gaze fell on the 3 cloth bags on Yi Xian's back. He suddenly remembered that Yi Xian came in empty-handed. But now, he came out with 3 weapons. Brother Yi, could it be that you have an interspatial ring? Fan Jin guessed. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly remembered where he had gone wrong. Helplessly, he could only laugh and say, Brother Fan, you really know how to joke. An interspatial ring is worth 3 spirit weapons. How could I have one? Interspatial rings were very rare. However, South Forest City was the most prosperous city in South Forest region. An interspatial ring had appeared before. That's true. Fan Jin said enviously. After all, even his Fan family did not have an interspatial ring. Yi Xian was only at the peak of the 9th tier of the martial path. If he had one, it would be a crime to have one. Hee, I still have something to do. I'll take my leave first. Yi Xian said and directly went out. However, not long after he left Ouyang Manor, he suddenly remembered something. He did not need to sell these 3 spirit weapons to others. He could sell them to Ouyang Ming, the Imperial Inspector. When he and Ouyang Ming first met, they were enemies everywhere. However, after the other party guessed that he had an interspatial ring, he did not attack him. Instead, he gave him a spirit weapon. This was enough to see the character of Ouyang Ming, the Imperial Inspector. Therefore, Yi Xian went back and found Ouyang Ming. Yi Xian, why are you looking for me? Ouyang Ming asked curiously when he saw Yi Xian. Yi Xian took off the long black bag on his back and said respectfully, Sir Ouyang, it's like this. When this junior was training outside, he found a treasure by chance and obtained some things. These are 3 spirit weapons, so I want to sell them. I wonder if Sir Ouyang can recommend a place. Chapter 112. Oh. Ouyang Ming suddenly stood up and took the sword. He opened it and looked at it. His eyes lit up. Whoosh. He pulled out one of the swords and slashed at the sky. This slash broke through the air at an extremely fast speed. Even Yi Xian could not see its speed clearly. Ouyang Ming said in surprise, it's indeed a spirit tool. Moreover, it's a newly forged spirit tool. There are no scars of battle. You're lucky. 3 spirit tools are enough to make up for an interspatial ring. This kid is also lucky. Yi Xian grinned. Now, Ouyang Ming's evaluation of Yi Xian was much higher. After all, to become a powerhouse, one not only needed talent, but also luck. Sometimes, luck was more important than talent. Without a doubt, Yi Xian had these 2 factors at the same time. As long as there were no accidents, he would definitely become a powerhouse. Then, Ouyang Ming pulled out the other 2 spirit swords and tested them. According to my estimation, the value of these 3 spirit tools is about 9 million taels of gold. If they were to be auctioned, they would be worth 10 to 12 million taels of gold. After he finished speaking, he suddenly turned his head and said, if possible, I hope you can sell them to me. The highest price I can offer is 12 million taels of gold. How about it? Hearing this, Yi Xian was overjoyed and hurriedly said, thank you, Sir Ouyang. Ouyang Ming also had an interspatial ring. He immediately took out 12 diamond-shaped low-grade crystals. In South Forest City, the mainstream currency was gold. 12 million taels of gold was equivalent to 12 billion taels of silver. A low-grade crystal was worth 100 million taels of silver, which was 1 million taels of gold. 12 low-grade crystals were exactly 12 million taels of silver. Yi Xian took the 12 low-grade crystals and was overjoyed. I'm rich, I'm rich. With these, I can directly break through to the 10th level of the martial path. At this moment, Ouyang Ming suddenly asked, Yi Xian, from the looks of it, 3 spirit tools don't seem to be your limit, ahem, ahem. Actually, I still have a few more here, but I'm considering whether to sell them or not. Master Ouyang, why don't I go back and think about it? If I want to sell them, why don't I give priority to Master Ouyang? Yi Xian said with a strange expression. Looks like you found a huge treasure. Alright, if you still want to sell them, you can come to me at any time. Ouyang Ming nodded. After that, Yi Xian quickly left. Ouyang Ming smiled as he watched him leave. With these 3 spiritual swords, the power of my 7-sword battle formation has at least doubled. Huh, awesome. After obtaining the 12 low-grade crystals, Yi Xian quickly returned to his courtyard and started devouring them. Ding! Host has obtained 1,200 devouring points. Ding! The host has broken through to the early 10th stage of the martial path. After 2 consecutive system notifications, Yi Xian was already grinning from ear to ear. His leveling up plan was really good. However, this leveling up plan came with a price. Originally, he had 1,500 devouring points, but now he only had 1,200 points left. It was only enough to buy 2 spiritual swords. This is too much. It's so much more expensive to exchange with devouring points in the devouring system. Moreover, Master Ouyang gave me a friendly price. Otherwise, I would have lost at least 30 to 40%. Yi Xian's expression was slightly helpless. He continued to think, 1,200 points can buy 2 spiritual swords. I should be able to exchange them for 8 low-grade crystals. After devouring them, I might be able to break through to the middle 10th stage of the martial path. At this thought, Yi Xian's expression froze. A sentence suddenly appeared in his mind. Being rich is awesome. However, he was not that stupid. He had just left not long ago and suddenly broke through to the 10th stage of the martial path. Yang would definitely be suspicious. Therefore, he decided to wait until tomorrow to exchange his devouring points for spiritual swords and sell them to Yang. Early the next morning, Yi Xian directly went to find Yang. "Oh, Yi Xian, have you thought about it?" Yang smiled when he saw Yi Xian. "Master Yang, I have thought about it. I am prepared to sell the remaining 2 spiritual swords." Yi Xian said. "2 more? Huh, just right, let me see." Yang was overjoyed. He just happened to lack 2 spiritual swords. At that moment, Yi Xian directly used more than 1,000 points to exchange for 2 spiritual swords of different designs. Yang checked and said with satisfaction, "Very good, here are 8 low-grade crystals." Yi Xian took the crystals and "Thank you, Master Yang." "Huh, what are you thanking me for? Even in South Forest City, spiritual swords rarely appear, and it just so happens that I also need." Before Yang could finish speaking, he suddenly felt that something was amiss. After carefully sensing it for a while, he said in shock, "Yi Xian, your cultivation level, this kid was too happy yesterday and suddenly opened up my meridians, breaking through to the 10th stage of the martial path." Yi Xian hurriedly explained. This explanation was like thunder to Yang. He had heard of people breaking through on the verge of death, and he had also heard of people breaking through in a life and death battle, but he had never heard of people breaking through because they were too happy. Yi Xian was really a freak. "Very good. Now that you've reached the 10th level of the martial path, like the other 4, one of the 3 spots will be yours." Yang was very happy because he did not teach Yi Xian anything. It was all the latter's own efforts. "Master Yang, I will do my best." Yi Xian said respectfully and turned to leave. Yang pulled out the 2 spiritual swords and took out the 5 spiritual swords from the yin and yang ring. What was surprising was that the 7 spiritual swords suddenly soared into the air. In an instant, the courtyard was filled with a fierce wind. The 7 spiritual swords seemed to have gone crazy, slashing randomly. If someone rashly entered, they would probably be torn to pieces. Huff, huff, the 7 swords battle formation's consumption is really high. With my realm, I can only hold on for 5 seconds. However, this 7 swords battle formation is really powerful. Even if a martial artist of the middle stage of the true spirit realm enters, he would not be able to come out unscathed. This Yi Xian is really my benefactor. If he did not report the matter of the beast god's sect to the emperor, I would not have so many crystals. And the matter of the beast god's sect is also thanks to him, Yang muttered. After obtaining the 8 low-grade crystals, Yi Xian hurriedly returned to his courtyard. However, this time, he did not swallow the 8 low-grade crystals all at once. Instead, he swallowed them one by one. Ding! The host has swallowed a low-grade crystal. The reward is 100 devouring points. Ding! The host has swallowed a low-grade crystal. The reward is 100 devouring points. Chapter 113. The system kept ringing in his mind as the crystals in Yi Xian's hand disappeared one by one. After a while, all 8 of the low-grade crystals had been devoured by him. Damn it, after breaking through to the 10th stage, my experience has increased by a lot, Yi Xian cursed in his heart. After devouring the 8 low-grade crystals, he felt that he had not reached the limit yet. He estimated that he still needed 3 or 4 more crystals. What a miscalculation. It seems that even if I devour the golden eagle bow, I can't break through to the 10th stage. Sigh, I told Master Yang that these were the last 2 spiritual weapons. It seems that I have to find someone else. Yi Xian shook his head and left the house again. He still had more than 900 points, which was enough to buy a spiritual weapon. When the time came, he would sell some other things and break through to the 10th stage. After a while, he arrived at the biggest auction house in South Forest City. It was said that this was the property of the second-ranked prince of South Forest. However, before entering the door, he disguised himself. He was dressed in black and wore a large bamboo hat. Only his eyes were exposed. On his back, he carried a long black bag. Here comes another weirdo. One of the auction house's attendants thought to himself. He greeted him with a smile. Sir, how may I help you? I want to sell something that's worth millions of gold. Call someone with some authority over here. A deep voice sounded. This was the effect of Yi Xian's voice after using the voice-changing bead. What? Over $1 million gold taels? The auction house's attendant was shocked and hurriedly ran to inform the auction house's higher-ups. Not long after, the attendant brought an old man over. Then, the old man brought Yi Xian to a room. Sir, how may I address you? The old man asked with a smile. Yi Xian was shocked. He felt that this old man's aura was very strong. He was at least in the 10th stage. I'm here to sell something, not to make friends. Yi Xian snorted and took off the bag on his back. When the old man saw Yi Xian acting this way, he did not waste any more time. He opened the package and was shocked. Just now, he still had some doubts. However, after seeing the treasured sword in front of him, he immediately exclaimed, You want to sell a spiritual weapon? That's right. Are you going to accept this spirit tool or not? Yi Xian asked. Yes, of course. The old man hurriedly said, The market price of a spirit artifact is around 3 million. How much do you want to sell it for? Do you want to sell it to us directly or auction it off? Just sell it for 3.5 million. Yi Xian answered without hesitation. The old man hesitated. Yi Xian immediately said, Take the 3,500,000. If you auction it, you will definitely make a profit. Besides, I have other things. Indeed, it was definitely profitable to receive a spirit artifact. After all, it was not something that could be found everywhere. Alright, deal. The old man was also very straightforward, but he still carefully examined the spirit weapon. It's actually a new spirit artifact. I wonder which master made it. Also, who is this person? Although the old man was very confused, Yi Xian hid it very well. Even he could not see through Yi Xian's strength. Therefore, he thought that Yi Xian was a true spirit realm expert. After confirming that the treasured sword in his hand was a spirit artifact, the old man called for 3 low-grade crystals and 50 substandard crystals. Yi Xian put away the sword and then untied the other package on his back. In this package, he spent 200 devour points to buy spirit pills and elixirs. Although the 100 blossom dew he took before was not bad, it was only effective for people below the 8th stage of the martial path. If someone was injured by someone in the 9th stage of the martial path, the 100 blossom dew would not be able to dissolve the remnant spiritual energy. When the old man saw these things, he was shocked. He thought to himself, which big family did Yi Xian rob to actually have so many good things? After staying in the auction house for a period of time, Yi Xian, who was dressed in black, directly left. This time, he spent 700 devour points in exchange for 5 low-grade crystals. He immediately devoured 4 low-grade crystals. Sure enough, after devouring all of them, he reached the shackles of the early 10th stage of the martial path. He was only one step away from breaking through to the middle 10th stage of the martial path. I still have one left. I will use it when the time comes. Yi Xian placed the last crystal in the devour space. He would devour it when he needed it. Although his control of spiritual energy was not bad, he was going to face all the young talents in the empire. It was inevitable that he would encounter some geniuses with amazing perception. Therefore, he had to leave a backup plan. Now, Yi Xian was left with 600 devour points, 1 low-grade crystal, and a golden eagle bow that was worth 3 low-grade crystals. After finishing his business, Yi Xian returned to the Ouyang Manor. He was very confident that he would get a spot. Even if he had to face the son of the second-rank prince of the South Forest, he would not be afraid. Very soon, 3 days had passed. On the 4th day, Ouyang Ming summoned Yi Xian and the other 5 people to the main hall. Alright, I will announce the content of the test today. However, the test for the 6 of you will be different. Ouyang Ming suddenly took out a bamboo tube from his interspatial ring. There were 6 bamboo sticks in it. Everyone take 1 stick. Yi Xian, you go first. Ouyang Ming walked in front of Yi Xian. The latter took out 1 stick. There was only 1 number on it, 3. Then, Ouyang Ming took out a piece of parchment. This is your task. Hunt down the mighty gorillas in the depths of the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. Take 10 strands of white hair from their foreheads. Go to the designated location and dig up the iron box buried underground to retrieve the token. Yi Xian frowned. The last time Ouyang Ming went to the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, it was to bury the token. However, at this moment, what Yi Xian didn't notice was that the other 5 people were looking at him with strange expressions, especially Dang Yang. Dang Yang, the son of the second-ranked prince of the South Forest, was supposed to draw first. However, Ouyang Ming let Yi Xian draw first. Did this not mean that Yi Xian had a higher status than Dang Yang in Ouyang Ming's heart? Then, the other 5 people also drew their bamboo sticks and received their tasks. Also, there are actually only 3 tasks for the 6 parchment scrolls. Therefore, you will have an opponent. However, I don't think you know who your opponent is. These are your missions. The 3 people who complete the missions the fastest and return here will be given a recommendation. Of course, there is a time limit. It lasts for a month. If 2 people do not complete the task within the time limit, they will be replaced by another person. Chapter 114. Fan Jin carefully looked at his mission scroll and asked, Sir Ouyang, can we set off now? Yes, we can set off now. I'll wait for you at the Ouyang Manor. Ouyang Ming nodded. Hearing this, someone immediately rushed out of the door because this time, it was not about who completed the mission, but who completed the mission first. As for Yi Xian, he naturally left as well. In the past few days, he had finished his preparations and could set off at any time. The 6 of them quickly left the Ouyang Manor and then left separately, including Yi Xian. They all hid the parchment scroll very well. The others did not know what their mission was, nor did they know who had taken the same mission as them. Yi Xian glanced at the others and then quickly left South Forest City. He had heard that some clans raised demonic beasts specifically for traveling, so he couldn't fall behind. Now, he was a martial artist in the early 10th level of the martial path. Coupled with the 100 Beasts bloodline and the Wind-Seeking Leopard bloodline, he was very confident that he could be the first to arrive at the mission location. After leaving South Forest City, he quickly rushed toward the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan. With his speed, it was estimated that it would only take him 7 days to go back and forth, while the others would take half a month. In other words, he would arrive at the mission location a few days earlier than his opponents. This was an advantage. Now his speed was faster than when he came to South Forest City. It only took him 3 days to run to the depths of the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan, which was the 18th mountain range. He stopped and began to look for the location where the token was buried according to the map on the parchment. He arrived at the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyan earlier than his opponents, so he naturally had to find the token first and then hunt the mighty King Kong. Because there was only 1 token, there were many mighty King Kong. However, when he arrived at the mountain where the token was buried, he heard the roar on the mountain and his expression froze. It turns out that the place where the token is buried is the mighty King Kong's nest. Yi Xian directly took out the golden eagle bow from the devouring space and went up the mountain with a solemn expression. According to the instructions on the parchment scroll, he learned that the token was buried under a locust tree at the top of the mountain. Therefore, he had to climb to the top of the mountain. The other requirement of the mission was to obtain the white hair on the forehead of the mighty King Kong. This kind of monster called the mighty King Kong was naturally a 10th rank monster. Moreover, it had extraordinary strength and could smash a person into meat paste with 1 punch. Its strength was comparable to a martial artist in the middle of the 10th rank. However, this was a piece of cake for Yi Xian. So what if he had extraordinary strength? Could he keep up with Yi Xian's speed? If they couldn't keep up, then they could only be beaten. Swish. With the golden eagle bow in hand, Yi Xian climbed the mountain at lightning speed. Roars kept coming from the mountain forest. This was the daily activity of the mighty King Kong. They would roar when they had nothing to do. However, the roars were usually directed at King Kong, who did not have a mate. It had already been 10 minutes since Yi Xian stepped into the lair of the mighty King Kong. This mountain was quite big, and there were quite a few poisonous creatures, so Yi Xian was quite careful. However, at this moment, suddenly, a deafening roar fell into Yi Xian's ears, causing his expression to freeze. This roar seems to be nearby. Since I've encountered it, then I'll see what kind of ability this mighty King Kong has. At this moment, Yi Xian looked for the source of the sound. Soon, he saw a white gorilla standing at the entrance of a cave, roaring loudly and hammering its chest. After seeing it, Yi Xian couldn't help but be shocked because this gorilla was a little too big. Its 2 arms were estimated to be 2 meters long. Whatever, go for me. Yi Xian directly pulled the golden eagle bow in his hand. After aiming, he suddenly released it. Swish! An ear-piercing sound broke through the air. The spiritual force turned into chi and swept in front of the mighty King Kong in an instant. Boom! The spiritual force arrow exploded, and smoke and dust filled the air. The mighty King Kong let out a scream. However, what surprised Yi Xian was that this mighty King Kong was actually unscathed and was rushing towards him. What a strong defense. The exploding star arrow can't even break through its fur. Yi Xian secretly muttered in his heart. He had already learned the 2nd level of the exploding star arrow, which was considered an 8th grade martial arts technique. Coupled with the golden eagle bow, the power was definitely enough to kill a defenseless 10th level martial artist. However, such an attack couldn't break through the mighty King Kong's defense. Damn it, I'll let you have a taste of the 3rd level of the exploding star arrow. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He directly spent nearly 100 devouring points to exchange for the 3rd level of the exploding star arrow. Then, he pulled the bow again, aimed at the mighty King Kong that was rushing towards him, and shot another arrow. Swish! The sound and speed of this arrow was louder and faster than before. Monsters were monsters after all. Their intelligence was not high. Moreover, violent monsters like the mighty King Kong rarely dodged. This mighty King Kong didn't dodge and directly punched the spiritual force arrow. Boom! The exploding star arrow and the mighty King Kong's fist collided, immediately stirring up 1,000 layers of air waves. The space in this area seemed to be distorted, and a faint burnt smell spread out. Hee, I'll let you scream. Are you happy being blown up by the exploding star arrow? Yi Xian suddenly grinned. The 3rd level of the exploding star arrow just now was powerful enough to break through the mighty King Kong's defense. Not only that, a large chunk of the mighty King Kong's fur was blown off, and blood flowed out of the wound. This mighty King Kong's blood was actually green. This mighty King Kong was extremely angry. It was lonely and cold, so it wanted to use its roar to attract a female King Kong. But who knew that it wasn't a female King Kong, but a human? Furthermore, this human had injured her. Unforgivable. However, anger was useless. It was still roaring when Yi Xian shot another exploding star arrow. Boom! The mighty King Kong's chest was hit, and the powerful impact directly forced it to fall back. While you're sick, I'll take your life. Have a taste of my new skill. Yi Xian raised his hand and pulled the golden eagle bow. This time, he took much longer to condense spiritual force than before. Could it be that he wanted to condense full spiritual force and then severely injure this mighty King Kong? Every martial art was different. The chaotic star arrow and the exploding star arrow required different spiritual force to condense. The more spiritual force condensed, the stronger the power. However, this time, the spiritual force condensed by Yi Xian had already exceeded the range of the 3rd level of the exploding star arrow. Chaotic star arrow. Swish! As Yi Xian's fingers loosened, the condensed spiritual force instantly turned into an arrow and shot out. However, after this arrow was shot out, it was divided into 9. 9 exploding star arrows. Chapter 115. Yi Xian had this idea before, but he could not combine the exploding star arrow with the chaotic star arrow even though he tried many times. However, he later found that it was unnecessary because it could be exchanged in the devouring system. The chaotic star arrow cost Yi Xian 100 devouring points. It was very expensive. However, it was definitely worth it. Boom! 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 A series of explosions sounded. The mighty gorilla that just got up suddenly fell down again. 9 exploding star arrows had already blown it up beyond recognition. Its entire upper body was badly mutilated. The power is enough, but the consumption is too much. The spiritual power consumed in one shot is more than 10 shots of exploding star arrow and 10 shots of chaotic star arrow. Yi Xian sighed helplessly and then walked over. At this time, there was a high-grade mortal sword in his hand. Roar! The mighty gorilla was severely injured and could only let out a low roar. Let's fight for survival of the fittest. Yi Xian muttered as he stabbed his sword into the wound on the chest of the great strength King Kong, piercing through its heart. Dead. The mighty gorilla that was comparable to the middle stage of martial path was easily killed by Yi Xian. If there were others here at this time, they would definitely be shocked. Then Yi Xian plucked a special hair from the mighty gorilla's forehead and swallowed the corpse. Ding! The host has swallowed a demonic beast corpse. You have gained 3 devouring points. Ding! The 100 beast essence blood slot has increased by 1 point. Damn, this corpse is worth 3 million taels of silver. If I kill a few more, won't I be able to level up? Yi Xian was shocked. He had swallowed some 10th rank demonic beasts before, but their strength was relatively weak, at most 1 or 2 million taels of silver. However, this mighty gorilla was worth 3 million taels of silver. Huh, awesome, I found a place to level up. Yi Xian was very happy. Now that he was at the early stage of martial path, he had reached the shackles. As long as he killed 20 or 30 more demonic beasts, he might be able to break through to the middle stage of martial path. However, at this moment, he directly swallowed the last lower grade crystal. Ding! Host has broken through to the mid-stage of the 10th rank. In order to kill the mighty gorilla faster, Yi Xian chose to level up without hesitation. At this moment, he was already at the same level as the son of the Southern Forest Commandery Prince. He was 16 years old, while Deng Yang was 22 years old. There was a 6-year gap between them, but they were on the same level. In front of Yi Xian, Deng Yang wasn't even a fart. However, Yi Xian did not become complacent because he was going to participate in the Imperial Capital Tournament. The people recommended by the 16 patrol envoys of the Profound Sun Empire were more or less the same. The ones that Yi Xian was wary of were the young talents living in the Imperial capital. Alright, now that we know the strength of the mighty Vajra, the next step is simple. Let's find that token first. Yi Xian continued to climb the mountain. After breaking through to the mid-10th stage of the martial path, his spiritual energy had increased by a level, so the power and speed of the chaotic arrows were much stronger than before. After the breakthrough, he encountered the second mighty gorilla, but this time, he only used the chaotic arrows to kill the mighty gorilla. He did not even need to use the last hit. Ding! Host has swallowed a monster corpse and gained 3 devouring points. Ding! Host has swallowed a monster corpse and gained 3 devouring points. Ding! Host has swallowed a monster corpse and gained 3 devouring points. The strength of adult mighty gorillas was about the same, so their corpses were uniformly worth 3 devouring points. Before Yi Xian reached the top of the mountain, he had already killed more than 10 mighty gorillas and earned 50 devouring points. He also obtained 10 unique white hairs on the forehead of the mighty gorilla. In order to increase his efficiency, he spent dozens of devouring points to exchange for a bottle of elixir that could quickly restore spiritual energy. He originally had the 100 Flowers bloodline, so his physical strength and spiritual energy recovery speed increased. With this bottle of elixir, he could kill to his heart's content. After killing more than 30 mighty gorillas, he finally reached the top of the mountain. Is it that locust tree? The top of the mountain was a little desolate, so Yi Xian saw the tallest and biggest locust tree at a glance. He immediately ran over. There was a big rock under the locust tree. According to the instructions on the parchment, the iron box with the token was buried under the big rock. Yi Xian ran over and kicked the rock away, then he dug with his bare hands. Sure enough, there was an iron box buried under the rock. Yi Xian opened it directly, and there was a bronze token lying quietly inside. Oh Yang. After seeing the token, Yi Xian was shocked, but he quickly calmed down because this token was not the token of the Imperial Inspector, but the token of the Ouyang Manor. Lord Ouyang really values me, and he actually gave me the token of the Imperial Inspector. If I had taken the token of the Imperial Inspector and committed outrages, then he would have been the one to suffer. Unknowingly, Ouyang Ming's position in Yi Xian's heart rose a little. Since he had obtained the token, Yi Xian did not stay and immediately left. There are a total of 2 targets on the parchment, and a total of 2 tokens. The mountain under my feet is closer, so if my opponent wants to defeat me, he will have to go to the other location to get the token. It seems that I have more than enough time. Yi Xian thought as he went down the mountain. He had estimated that he was 3 days ahead on the way here, and 3 days ahead on the way back. Moreover, he had already obtained the token at the first target. If his opponent wanted to complete the mission, they would have to go deeper into the 18th mountain range, which would take 1 or 2 days, unless they snatched the token from him. Therefore, he had about a week's time to kill monsters and level up. Immediately, he began a long slaughter. Now that he had the violent arrow that could kill a 10th rank mighty gorilla, every time he used it, he could take the life of a mighty gorilla. A mighty gorilla gave him 3 devouring points, and there were at least 1,000 mighty gorillas on this mountain. Therefore, Yi Xian killed to his heart's content. However, he suddenly remembered that he could obtain more time. Why am I so stupid? If I go to the second location and take the other token, then my opponent won't be able to complete the mission unless he takes the token from me. At that moment, Yi Xian quickly went down the mountain and ran toward the other location. After spending a day, he directly arrived at the second location. If it was someone else, it would probably take 2 or 3 days. Chapter 116. If it was an ordinary warrior, it would not be a problem to climb a cliff, but there were many poisonous creatures on the cliff, such as poisonous spiders, and their levels were not low, at least 7th rank monster beasts. It would take a lot of effort to climb up. I am immune to poison, and this cliff is only a few dozen meters. It should not be a problem for me to climb up. Yi Xian immediately made a decision in his heart. For ordinary people, this cliff was a nightmare, but for Yi Xian, this cliff was not difficult at all. In just 10 minutes, Yi Xian climbed to the top of the cliff, and sure enough, there was an iron box. Yi Xian walked over, opened the iron box, took the other token, and then climbed down. Now, the 2 tokens of this mission are with me. As long as I return to South Forest City within the stipulated time, it will be fine. Yi Xian breathed a sigh of relief, then the next step was his upgrade plan. After another day, he rushed back to the Great Power King Kong's nest, and then began to kill. 1 Great Power King Kong gave 3 devouring points, 10 Great Power King Kong gave 30 points, and 100 of them gave 300 points. If he slaughtered this mountain, he was afraid that he would get 1,000 devouring points. However, on the 3rd day of Yi Xian's return, 2 people suddenly entered the mountain. Ah Jean, there are many Great Power King Kong on this mountain, even I have to be careful, you must follow me closely later. A middle-aged man said to a young man. Father, don't worry, I have broken through to the 10th level of the martial path, it is not a problem to face a Great Power King Kong. The young man said. This young man was actually Fan Jin of the Fan family, Yi Xian's opponent this time. And this middle-aged man was Fan Jin's father, Fan Yuan of the Fan family in South Forest City. Humph, don't bite off more than you can chew, follow me closely. Fan Yuan snorted, holding the sword in his hand, began to carefully climb the mountain. If Yi Xian was here at this time, he would be very surprised, but he was not surprised by Fan Jin, but Fan Yuan. To be precise, it was the weapon in Fan Yuan's hand. This was because the weapon in Fan Yuan's hand was bought by him at a high price. It was said that a mysterious person sold it to the auction house. In order for Fan Jin to participate in the Imperial Capital Tournament, Fan Yuan had specially purchased a spirit weapon for him. After helping Fan Jin complete the mission, he would give this spirit weapon to Fan Jin. This way, Fan Jin's strength would skyrocket. The two of them began to climb the mountain. Their speed was extremely slow because Fan Yuan was only at the middle of the 10th stage of the martial Tao. Although he held a spirit artifact sword in his hand, if he encountered several Vajra at the same time, he would still be in danger. However, after walking for nearly an hour, they did not find a single mighty Vajra, which made them feel puzzled. "Father, are you sure you were here before?" Fan Jin asked in surprise. At the same time, he took out the parchment and looked at it. "Yes, the token was at the top of this mountain." "Nonsense, last year, I came here with my family's hunting team to kill a few mighty Vajras. At that time, I even brought back the mighty Vajras that to nourish your body. Have you forgotten?" Fan Yuan rolled his eyes. In fact, he was not too sure in his heart. This was because when he came here, he had encountered 3 mighty Vajras at the same time. The entire hunting team had almost been wiped out. "But, we've been walking for more than an hour, and we haven't seen a single mighty Vajra. We haven't even heard a single roar. What's going on?" Fan Jin asked in confusion. "Maybe those mighty Vajras ran to the back of the mountain." Fan Yuan could not figure it out either. They walked for a while. Roar! Finally, an earth-shattering roar rang out, and the expressions of the two changed. It is indeed the roar of the mighty Vajra. "Let's go, father will bring you to get the first strand of white hair, and cut off his that, to nourish your body." Fan Yuan laughed a few times and couldn't help but quicken his pace. However, after walking for a while, they heard another sound. Boom, 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 a series of 9 loud sounds rang out. Fan Yuan and Fan Yuan stopped in their tracks and looked at each other. What is this sound? Could it be that someone is fighting with the mighty Vajra? Fan Jin asked in surprise. It should be. Let's go and take a look. Fan Yuan's eyes flashed. Those who could enter this mountain were at least in the 10th level of the martial Tao. He was in the middle of the 10th level of the martial Tao, and he had a spirit weapon in his hand. Even if he faced the peak of the 10th level of the martial Tao, he was not afraid. He had done many things like killing people and robbing them of their treasures, and every time the harvest was very good. Roar! At this time, the sound of the mighty Vajra came again. Over here. Fan Yuan heard it and immediately used his movement technique to rush over. Fan Jin also hurriedly followed. However, when they came nearby, they were shocked to find that there was no mighty Vajra, only a person with his back facing them. The smell of blood, there are bloodstains on the ground. There was a battle here. Fan Yuan frowned. For some reason, this scene made his heart palpitate. Why does this person's back look a little familiar? Fan Jin looked at the person with his back facing him and wondered in his heart. Right at this moment, the person whose back was facing him suddenly turned around. When Fan Jin saw the person's face clearly, his expression changed and he exclaimed, Yi Xian? He did not expect to meet Yi Xian here. In that case, Yi Xian was the other person on this mission? However, what he did not understand was why Yi Xian was in front of him. Yi Xian, why are you here? Fan Jin could not help but ask. Oh, it's Brother Fan. Have you forgotten? There are 6 of us and only 3 missions. I'm here, so naturally I'm doing the mission. Yi Xian turned around and looked at Fan Jin and Fan Yuan. At the same time, he thought to himself, that was close. Fortunately, the corpse was collected early, or else it would have been discovered. I know. In that case, you are my opponent? When did you arrive? Fan Jin asked doubtfully. Yi Xian grinned and replied, I arrived very early. Why? Impossible. I'm riding an 8th order demonic beast, the Windwalker foal. How could you be in front of me? Fan Jin said in disbelief. Oh, sorry. I'm riding a ninth-order demonic beast, the Gale Eagle, Yi Xian said casually. What? Fan Jin and Fan Yuan were shocked. The eighth-order demonic beast, the Windwalker foal, was caught with great difficulty by the Fan family. However, Yi Xian actually had a ninth-order demonic beast as a mount, and a flying one at that. How was this possible? Chapter 117. That's right. Yi Xian nodded. You. Fan Jin was a little angry because he had come here with great difficulty, but Yi Xian had beaten him to it. Most importantly, this mission was to see who could finish the mission first and return first. Have you collected the 10 strands of white hair? Fan Jin asked again. Yi Xian had no use for the token alone. He also needed the unique strand of white hair on the forehead of the 10 strength guardian deities. That's right. Yi Xian reached into his chest and pulled out a pile of white hair. Seeing this, Fan Jin's eyes flashed with a hint of murderous intent. Yi Xian had completed the mission, so as long as he returned to Nanlin City, he would have failed. Moreover, Yi Xian had a flying mount that was faster than him, so even if he went to another location to get the second token, he would not be able to save the situation. At this moment, he only had one choice, and that was to kill Yi Xian. Fan Yuan, who was beside Fan Jin, also realized this, but he still had a doubt in his heart, so he asked, Jin, why does the name Yi Xian sound so familiar? Father, he's the one who crippled Fan Yu. Fan Jin replied. After his reminder, Fan Yuan immediately reacted, so it was you who crippled my nephew, but I remember that my second brother has already sent experts to kill you. Oh. Kill me? Yi Xian pretended to be surprised. I don't know about that, but I've never met them. Although he had killed those experts from the Fan family, it was better not to spread this matter, unless he was confident that he could destroy the Fan family. Is that so? If that's the case, as long as I kill you, my son will be able to participate in the Imperial Capital Tournament and avenge my nephew. Fan Yuan suddenly tightened his grip on the sword in his hand as he spoke. Is that so? Hee. Yi Xian smiled indifferently. Suddenly, he found something strange. He thought to himself, hey, isn't that the water-splitting sword that was sold to the auction house before? So that's how it is. It was bought by the Fan family. Just nice, I can take it back. At this time, Fan Jin also shouted, Yi Xian, as long as you hand over the mission and kill that flying mount of yours with your own hands, I will ask my father to spare your life. At most, I will cripple your cultivation. How about it? It wasn't that he was soft-hearted, but because Fan Yu had a grudge with him when he was young, as a fellow clansman, he couldn't do anything to Fan Yu. And when Yi Xian crippled Fan Yu, it could be considered as unintentionally helping him vent his anger. What a joke. I'll give you a chance. If you kill your father, I'll consider sparing your life. Yi Xian had a look of disdain on his face. He and Fan Yuan were dozens of meters apart, so he couldn't feel Fan Yuan's strength, but he understood that there were only 2 true Spirit Realm experts in South Forest City. One was the Commandery Prince of the South Forest, and the other was the Imperial Inspector, Yang. Therefore, it was impossible for Fan Jin's father to be a true Spirit Realm expert. As long as it wasn't a true Spirit Realm expert, what did he have to fear? Moreover, he could take revenge for that day. Good, since you don't know how to appreciate kindness, then don't blame me. Father, I'll go kill him. Fan Jin coldly snorted. So arrogant, you really don't know life from death. Although Fan Yuan was surprised that Yi Xian could be chosen by Yang, when Yi Xian crippled Fan Yu, he was only in the early 9th stage of the martial path. Only a few months had passed, so he didn't believe that Yi Xian could cause any big waves. In his estimation, Yi Xian was at most a 9th stage of the martial path. However, he still suddenly called out to Fan Jin and passed the Aqua Splitter Sword to Fan Jin, saying, Jin, this Aqua Splitter Sword will be given to you sooner or later. Today, use this spirit artifact sword to avenge Fan Yu. Okay. Fan Jin took the sword. Although he didn't want to avenge Fan Yu, if he didn't kill Yi Xian, he was afraid that he would be eliminated. Therefore, between him and Yi Xian, only one of them could live. Are you sure you want to kill me and not your father? Yi Xian looked at Fan Jin, the corners of his mouth curling up slightly. What big words. Since you really want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Fan Jin coldly shouted. That day, Yi Xian crippled his guard. He wanted to forget about it, but now, he wanted to avenge that guard. Fan Yuan looked at Yi Xian's carefree expression and was puzzled. He immediately reminded him, Jin, don't relax when dealing with an enemy. Yes, father. Fan Jin nodded, then walked toward Yi Xian with the water-splitting sword in hand. Yi Xian looked at him slowly walking toward him with a smile, thinking, I didn't want to bicker with you, but since you really want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Whoosh. A slash pierced through the air. Fan Jin, who was in the early stage of the 10th realm of the martial path, and with the help of a spirit weapon, his attack was very fierce. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Yi Xian. Even a martial artist at the peak of the 9th realm of the martial path could only watch as he was hit by this slash. However, this slash was very slow in front of Yi Xian. Whoosh. Yi Xian shifted his body slightly and dodged this fierce slash. What? Fan Jin was shocked and raised his hand to slash again. This slash accurately hit Yi Xian's body, but surprisingly, it passed through him. An afterimage? This time, Fan Jin was even more shocked. He hurriedly looked and saw Yi Xian's figure at the side. At this time, Yi Xian had a golden longbow in his hand. Suddenly, Yi Xian's right hand loosened, and an arrow of light shot out. This arrow of light split into 9 parts in the air, and each one was like a bolt of lightning that shot into Fan Jin's body in an instant. One of them pierced through Fan Jin's heart, and the other opened a bloody hole in his forehead. Fan Jin was dead. He never thought that he would be killed in an instant. Moreover, he was not killed in the capital city tournament, but by a teenager who was 5 or 6 years younger than him. Fan Jin, who was holding the water splitter sword, had turned into a corpse and was falling backward. At this time, a figure suddenly rushed over and snatched the water splitter sword from his hand. It was Yi Xian. Jin. After recovering from his shock, Fan Yuan shouted angrily. His only son had actually been killed by someone. At this moment, he rushed toward Yi Xian with his bare hands. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. Yi Xian snorted coldly in his heart. Once again, he left behind an afterimage and rushed in front of Fan Yuan. Bang! He slapped Fan Yuan's chest and sent him flying. Then, he changed the weapon in his hand. Whoosh! 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 9 rays of light flashed, and Fan Yuan was shot into a sieve and died in an instant. Even if he had a spiritual weapon sword, he was no match for Yi Xian. After all, a spiritual weapon sword could only increase his attack power, but not his speed. Yi Xian's speed was unimaginably fast. Unless a martial artist at the peak of level 10 of the martial path was using a 10th grade martial arts technique, or a spiritual martial arts technique, it could also be a martial artist in the true spirit realm. Chapter 118. After Fan Yuan and Fan Jin died, Yi Xian also searched their bodies for a while, but did not get much good stuff. Then, he buried the 2 of them just in case. Now, his mission opponent was dead, so he was not in a hurry. He could wait for more than 20 days to return to South Forest City, as long as it did not exceed a month. Next, he stayed on this mountain and kept hunting the mighty ape warriors. The spiritual power and devouring points in his body were also increasing. More than 20 days later. Under the locust tree on the mountain top, a young man was lying on his side, seemingly sleeping. This young man was Yi Xian. In the past 20 days or so, he had run through this mountain several times and killed all the mighty Vajra. He counted them carefully. There were a total of 563 of them. 563 mighty Vajras. This was a very terrifying number. Even a martial artist at the peak of the 10th level of the martial path with a spiritual weapon sword would not be able to do it in 20 days, unless he was in the true spirit realm. At the same time, these more than 500 mighty ape warriors also provided Yi Xian with a lot of devouring points. At this time, his devouring points had broken through the 2000 mark. Not only that, his realm had also reached the middle of the 10th level of the martial path. He was only one step away from the peak of the 10th level of the martial path. In fact, he could already break through, but in order to preserve his strength, he put some of the mighty ape warriors' corpses in the devouring space, waiting for the time to suddenly devour and then advance. Suddenly, Yi Xian, who was resting under the locust tree, opened his eyes. He yawned comfortably, stretched his waist, and said to himself, "It's dawn, time to return to South Forest City." He tidied up his luggage, stood up, and then rushed all the way to the foot of the mountain. This mountain had been slaughtered by him. Not only the mighty ape warriors, but also many other monsters were killed by him. "I have to hurry again." When Yi Xian came to the foot of the mountain, he shook his head helplessly. Hurrying was the most boring thing. At this time, he suddenly remembered something. "Oh right, my 2000 devouring points are enough to upgrade the wind-chasing leopard bloodline or 100-flower bloodline to the intermediate bloodline. Let me try." Yi Xian's heart stirred. The host is currently unable to fuse with a mid-level bloodline. If you forcibly fuse with it, it may cause your realm to drop or your body to explode. Do you wish to purchase it? After hearing the system notification, Yi Xian was shocked again. He was already at the mid-stage of the 10th stage of the martial path, but he was still unable to fuse with the middle-grade bloodline. Could it be that he would have to wait until he broke through to the true spirit realm? Not only the wind-seeking leopard bloodline, but also the 100 flowers bloodline, so he could only give up. "Forget it, if I can't exchange, then I'll leave it for now. Let's return to South Forest City first." Yi Xian shook his head and disappeared from his original spot. Several days later, Yi Xian finally returned to South Forest City. Only 27 days had passed since he left South Forest City. He ran all the way to the Ouyang Manor and found Ouyang Ming. "Master Ouyang, I'm back." Yi Xian took out the 10 white hairs of the mighty King Kong and the token. Ouyang Ming was a little surprised and asked, "Why did you come back so late?" "According to my estimation, you could have completed it in half a month." He had seen Yi Xian's speed before, so he made this estimation. "I ran into some trouble, but I also had a fortuitous encounter, so I was a little late." Yi Xian laughed. "Fortunately, Fan Jin, who was on the same mission as you, has not returned yet. Otherwise, you would have been eliminated." "Wait, your realm." Ouyang Ming suddenly stood up and walked to Yi Xian's side and exclaimed, "You broke through again?" "Yes, this kid had a fortuitous encounter and ate a few unknown fruits, so I broke through." Yi Xian casually found another reason. "You're really lucky, kid. But you're really bold to eat something you don't know. Be careful next time, don't get poisoned." Ouyang Ming rolled his eyes. He did not want Yi Xian to die halfway. "Yes, thank you, Sir Ouyang, for your guidance." Yi Xian replied respectfully and thought to himself, "I'm immune to poison. As long as I'm not poisoned to death immediately, the 100 flowers bloodline can detoxify the poison. What's there to be afraid of?" "Okay, you've completed the mission and received a slot. Next month, you'll follow me to the imperial capital. Before that, I'll personally guide you." Ouyang Ming said. "Yes, Sir Ouyang." Yi Xian suddenly asked, "Oh right, Sir Ouyang, have you completed the other 2 missions?" "That's right." Deng Yang was the first to complete it, followed by Gu Yi, and finally Shang Yuxiang. However, Gu Yi and Shang Yuxiang were assigned the same task, and you returned within the allotted time, so Shang Yuxiang was eliminated, Ouyang Ming answered. Yi Xian nodded silently. It seemed that the 3 slots had been decided. Deng Yang, the son of the Nanlin County's second-ranked prince, Gu Yi, and Yi Xian. Yi Xian immediately left. It's good to be young. The meridians are not fixed, and the potential is not fully tapped. It's very easy to break through. Yang Ming sighed. A martial artist's meridians would only be fixed at the age of 25. After that, their cultivation speed would be greatly reduced. From then on, they would have to rely on the accumulation of time. Although Yang Ming was in the true spirit realm, he was only in the early stage. He knew his own capabilities, and whether he could break through to the peak of the true spirit realm in his lifetime was still a question. Yi Xian was in the middle stage of the 10th rank at the age of 16. Yang Ming estimated that Yi Xian would be able to break through to the true spirit realm in 1 or 2 years. Why would so many people fight over a single genius? To be able to nurture such a powerhouse was a very satisfying thing. Moreover, Yang Ming recommended Yi Xian to participate in the Imperial Capital Tournament. If Yi Xian stood out in the tournament and was chosen by the court officials or even the emperor, then his status would also rise. What if Yi Xian became the great general of the state or the imperial preceptor in the future? In the following month, Yang Ming personally guided Yi Xian and the other two. Deng Yang's father was the second-rank prince of the Nanlin County, and the second-rank prince of the Nanlin County was originally a true spirit realm powerhouse, so Deng Yang had a sloppy appearance. Yang Ming did not care about Deng Yang because Deng Yang was forced to him by the second-rank prince of the Nanlin County. Yang Ming once owed the second-rank prince of the Nanlin County a favor, so he accepted Deng Yang. However, Yi Xian and Gu Yi cherished this 1 month very much. One had to know that this was a true spirit realm powerhouse. How many people dreamed of being guided by a true spirit realm powerhouse? Many of Gu Yi's martial arts that he was not very familiar with were suddenly enlightened after Yang Ming's explanation.